Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if angry Naruto destroys Konoha part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Team Guy was madly rushing through the forests in an attempt to return to Konoha. They had seen the smoke plume and a great dread filled their hearts. Neji had activated his Byakugan to divine the cause of the calamity. His wordless cry of agony was easily the most terrifying experience his teammates Tenten and Rock Lee had ever experienced. Might Guy remembered the nine-tailed fox's rampage. The team rushed off. Neji never deactivated his bloodline limit. No, he whispered and leapt to the top of the nearest tree. Neji's closest friends and teacher quickly followed. Rock Lee stared in slack-jawed shock at the devastation in front of him. That's one of Jiraiya-sama's summoned toads. What? Guy shouted in disbelief. It was not just one of the summoned toads. It was Gamabunta, the chief of all toads. The toad chief's happy jacket was torn, and the great toad was unconscious. Boo! Neji stated in a tone that was a forced attempt at his usual self-control. Three masked ANBU wearing dark gray cloaks appeared on the branches a few feet away. Konoha has been attacked. We shall show you the safest way to enter the village. Team Guy nodded at the ANBU and followed them. Neji knew the ANBU should make him feel secure, but there was a wrongness at the edge of his perception that he could not shake. In a darkened complex far from the epicenter of Pain's destruction of Konoha, a crippled man sat on a throne. Danzo sat silently and contemplated his rise to power, and waited for the reports to filter in. Danzo-sama, the Kakashi colony that tagged Nizu reports that Team Guy has been intercepted and delayed. The leader of Root nodded at Aburn and Torian. Danzo was aware of the cruelty of his actions, but Konoha was greater than the life of any one individual. Haruno Sakura struggled through the debris littering the ground. She could barely stand, but she continued onwards. One of her friends was done there. Hinata had been severely injured in her selfless attempt to save Naruto. Sakura had to save her. Haruno Sakura, please refrain from entering the crater, it is not safe. Sakura whirled around despite the thrill of pain shooting up her left leg. One of my friends is down there, and I have to help her. Please desist. There was something off about the ANBU's tone. Sakura glared at the shrouded figure, and was struck by a memory of Sai. I'm a medic Nin, and I am going to save my friend's life. Sakura growled and tried to turn. The ANBU sighed and grabbed her by the shoulder. If you are going to be so stubborn, let me at least show you a safe way down. Sakura huffed and nodded. Nagato slowly began to form a hand seal, as he smiled at his brother apprentice. I will believe in your dream, Uzumaki Naruto. I only hope that when I next meet Jiraiya-sensei, he will forgive me. Naruto smiled. Ero-senin will forgive you. He was stronger than me in that way. It had been years since Nagato truly laughed. However, the name Naruto had given Jiraiya-sensei was so true and brought back memories of a happier time. Uzumaki Naruto, I wish we could have met years ago. We would have helped to guide the world to peace. The Rinnegan wielder and the sage shared the laugh and unspoken memories of their beloved teacher. In that moment, they forgot about their total exhaustion, their previous battles, and the pain that had forged them into men. In that moment, they were brothers. The last student of Jiraiya slid his master's first book into his jacket. We still can. A flurry of shuriken, kunai and right unjutsu erupted. Naruto turned and leapt in front of Nagato, but his body began to revolt under the constant strain. The rigors of the battle against Nagato's Deva path, the aftereffects of seeing Hinata struck down in front of him, and the conflicting demonic and sage energies had weakened him. The chakra blade Nagato had put in his stomach a few minutes ago wasn't helping either. Nagato was also experiencing something that was almost an impossibility. Chakra exhaustion. The planetary devastation and the battle against Naruto had severely depleted his reserves. Konan had been mostly silent in the exchange between the two students of Jiraiya. She leapt into battle and created a paper shield to defend Nagato and the young man with whom he had placed his faith. Danzo as puppets, Nagato roared. In an instant, several dozen Root agents were launching themselves at Nagato. Naruto screamed and intercepted one of the Root agents. The fight should have lasted mere moments. However, Naruto was still physically exhausted and injured. The Yandame's legacy was winning, but was fading quickly. Raiton, sacrifice of Perkunas. The sole surviving root agent screamed. There was an explosion of electrical energy that engulfed the entire chamber. Konan managed to shield herself and Nagato. Naruto. The paper wielder yelled in terror. He was too close to the suicide detonation for her to shield. She heard the scream. It was a primal call of pain. Get Nagato Nezen out of here. Naruto screamed as he clutched his eyes. That bastard Danzo will send more people. Go! The cry was filled with pain and concern. Konan shook her head. We'll take you with us. I can't leave, Konoha. I have to see if Hinata and the others survived. Go! There isn't any time. Konan and Nagato vanished in a flurry of paper. Naruto stumbled from his brother apprentice's hideout. He began to falter when a familiar presence grabbed him. Naruto. It was Niji's voice. Your eyes. Naruto turned his ruined eye sockets to his friend. Are gone. Where is Hinata? You have to take me to her. The surviving loyal Rookie 12 were waiting in a clearing. They had brought their wounded comrades to an open clearing so Sakura could try to save them. Shikamaru, Kiba, Ino and Shino had been successfully healed. They would survive. Sakura did not fight the tears as she poured her chakra into Hinata's wound. All she could do is ease her friend's pain. In the distance, there was the sound of branches breaking, but they were ignored. Until a voice called out, Hinata! Naruto-kun! Hinata responded to the call with all of her fading strength. Sakura stopped her from rising. Please, Sakura whispered and turned. That could not be Naruto. Naruto was a sage. He was a powerful, confident, and unflappable man. He was the glue that held the rookies together. He was Tsunade Shisoe's successor. The pitiful man with no eyes desperately searching for Hinata could not be Naruto. Sakura's teammate was so full of energy, so full of life. Not even in her nightmares would Sakura have pictured Naruto crawling on all fours, feebly groping for Hinata. She's here, Naruto. Sakura took his hand and guided Naruto to where Hinata lay. Hinata-chan, the blonde whispered. If he still had eyes, Naruto would have shed uncountable tears. Hinata caressed her love's cheek. I can't tell you how long I've waited till you call me that. I failed you. I know that after what I've done you can't. Naruto suddenly felt a sharp pain where once there was a tenderness. The wound was more agonizing than Nagato's chakra blades or the root agent's Raiton. Naruto-kun, I stand by what I say. Because that is our Nindo. I have always been blind. I should have loved you sooner. The Hyuga heiress shook her head. I would have waited until the stars died for you. Naruto-kun, I have one request. I have never asked anything of you. Kiss me. Kiss me so I can die without regrets. Naruto nodded. It was a simple thing. There was no great passion because there was no time and less strength left in them. Naruto, in spite of everything, refused to believe this was the last. Hinata knew that she had to save her strength to make a final request of someone else. Sakura-san. Her voice was weak. Naruto gripped Hinata's hand tightly. The medic leaned in close. Yes, Hinata. Give Naruto-kun my eyes. Sakura shed the tears Naruto was incapable of. No. You will need them. We will survive, together. Naruto screamed. One last time, Naruto-kun. One last time, I love you with all my heart. A root agent wearing a frowning porcelain mask with two red markings shaped like wheat stalks knelt in front of Danzo's throne. Danzo-sama, we have located the surviving Konoha 11. This is fortunate. Deploy my remaining agents to remove them. Extinguish Hiruzen's deviant philosophy from this world. The strike force is to spare the container. The deaths of his comrades will transform him into my instrument. The agent nodded. As you command, Danzo-sama. There was a pause. My lord, there is an unfortunate complication. I am aware. Sai has betrayed us. The Kyuubi has somehow managed to break my conditioning of the tool. Eliminate him with the last of Hiruzen's line. Sai did not know what possessed him to abandon his mission and return to Konoha with Yamato-senpai. He knew that his feeling, his long-dead emotions were driving him. As he plundered Root's secrets for Naruto, he realized he was betraying the life he had known. Sai also realized he was betraying it for the life he wanted. He felt Danzo's curse seal threatening to overwhelm him. The seal was attempting to paralyze the man, with the awakening emotions for his betrayal of Root. Unfortunately for Danzo, his seal had never encountered a human being whose will had been awakened by Uzumaki Naruto. Sai ignored the agony racking his body and pushed onward. Naruto never gave up, and neither would he. The traitor Root burst into the clearing where Naruto and Sakura had gathered with their companions. Sai came to a complete halt when he saw the man that had awoken him from shadow. He barely recognized the strong and indomitable Uzumaki Naruto. In his stead, there was a broken man holding a woman weeping from bandage-covered eyes. In that moment, Sai saw the depths of true emotional pain and wondered if his awakened emotions were worth the risk of experiencing such naked agony. I will have time to explore this later. He struggled against his own mind. Root is coming. The seal was doing its abominable work. Sai felt his entire body seemingly turning into stone. He trudged forward and laid the files and ledgers at Naruto's feet. I give you truth. Sai collapsed and Choji moved to steady him. Yamato leapt from a nearby tree, and like the others, stared numbly at the scene before him. Naruto? Naruto turned to the source of the voice. His body was still adjusting to Hinata's final gift of love for him. A sudden flare of chakra that Naruto saw even through the sealed bandages filled the clearing. Great old geezer? Naruto whispered. Nagato Nizan? The enormous and ancient toad nodded. My sympathies, young Naruto. Time is not as it should be. If it was, Naruto looked in the direction of his friends. If it was, we would have not lost Bachan, Shizunichan, Kakashi-sensei, or the others. I would have not lost Hinata. Nagato panted. My brother, the great Toad Sage, has shown me a great many things. He has shown me the cause of this tragedy. We have discovered and wish to give you one last gift, my brother apprentice. The new Toad Sage lifted his hands to his. No Hyantas, the Akugan. I cannot bear another gift. Conan walked over and knelt beside the young man. Can you bear hope? What? The great Toad Sage nodded. We have the power of the Mokuton, the Rinnegan, and my affinity for time. Naruto looked to the Churka of his brother apprentice, the great old geezer, and to Yamato. What are you trying to say? We can reverse the flow of time. The damage and horrors can be undone. Nagato breathed heavily. Yamato looked at the group. Time is something we do not have, tragically. As Sai told us, Danzo is sending his Root to destroy us. Then only a few of us will go back. I, for one, will stay behind. Naruto, you rescued me from my darkness. I shall finally, and truly, repay that debt. You will have your chance to save us all again, and I shall make sure Root cannot defile Hinata-sama's body with their inhuman experimentation. Niji's voice trembled with emotion. Tenten took a defiant step forward. And I will be with you, Niji. No, you must go with them. Help stop this nightmare from occurring. Hell no, you stubborn Hyuga. I won't go back in time and have to live in a time where you are still wallowing in darkness. I couldn't bear knowing that you stayed behind. Living through those years knowing what we shared and waiting for you to be freed from fate would be worse than what awaits us here. Tenten gripped Niji's shirt tightly. Sakura stood up. Naruto, there will be dozens of Root. We will ensure the ritual is complete. Go back, stop this. She looked down at the man she now considered her beloved brother. Love her. Not many people get a second chance. You all deserve it as much as I do. Naruto screamed. Sakura lowered herself to eye level and gently punched Naruto in the shoulder. Idiot, we'll all get it. We just won't know it. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for my younger self being a jerk. If you go back that far. Yamato put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. If we are going to do this, it must be now. Naruto nodded numbly. The Jinchuriki ran his hand through Hinata's hair and kissed her on the forehead one last time. He fumbled for Sai's documents and held them tight. I am proud to call you all my friends. Know my family. I will not fail you again. The blonde turned towards Yamato, Nagato, and the great Toad Sage. Let's do it. Naruto sat facing Nagato. The two children of destiny were channeling their chakra into a seal the toads had drawn up. The great Toad Sage was sitting between them with Yamato standing on his massive hands. Tenzo struggled to maintain four massive ornate pillars that rested at the edges of the seal. The great old geezer chanted in a language that was impossible for humans to reproduce. Naruto struggled under the strain to maintain sage mode. In the distance, each of the shinobi and sages could hear the sounds of a raging battle. Suddenly, there was a great cry from the great toad sage. Suddenly, there was light. We have succeeded. Have we, great old geezer? Naruto could barely speak. The prophet of the toads nodded his bulbous head. Indeed, child of prophecy. There were, however, unforeseen complications. You've never had a prophecy be wrong before. The young sage willed himself to stand. This was not prophecy. The complications are not insurmountable, and they are temporary. Naruto raised a hand to his bandages. What are they? While Yamato and Nagato have merged with their past selves, you have not. Young Naruto, you exist as you are now, while your younger self sleeps soundly in Konoha as an 11-year-old child. I am not sure I understand. How is this temporary? Naruto breathed deeply and realized he was on Mount Myaboku. The great old geezer looked down at his small friend. Time is attempting to compensate for your baya. Hinata's Byakugan. Naruto interrupted. Time is attempting to compensate for the Byakugan you now possess. As your younger self did not have it, there will be a period where you slowly merge. Naruto shook his head. How long and what will happen? It will take 1 year. As the compensation occurs, your memories will merge with your other self. His personality and current memories will become dominant, but he will possess all your knowledge and abilities. As to the Byakugan, it will become dormant in your counterpart's blood. He will likely pass it to his children, but will not have access to it. Naruto nodded. This could actually be a boon. He could guide his younger incarnation along the correct path and prepare him for the terrible burden of Naruto's knowledge. Great old geezer, I ask that you send me to Konoha. I want to speak with myself. Of course. Naruto felt the pull. Moments later, he was home. The old smells came rushing back. The dirty clothes were in the same corner. The musky smell of training scrolls wafted in from the closet-turned-training room. Naruto couldn't help but smile. He truly was in the past. Conan was right. There is still hope. There is still hope for us, Hinata. The elder Naruto ran his thumb along the collection of documents Sai had sacrificed so much to bring him. Naruto easily maneuvered through the comfortable and familiar setting and sat at the rickety kitchen table. He reached up and removed the bandages. Neji and Hinata had once told him that an active Byakugan could see in the dark. Sakura had also informed him after the transplant that there may be some residual chakra memories that would allow him to activate Hinata's selfless gift. Byakugan. Naruto whispered and willed Hinata's eyes to aid him. The world erupted in a clarity and range he did not think possible. Unfortunately, the clarity brought pain. He saw petty crime in the streets. Worse, he saw his friends. They did not know, or in many cases, even care for Naruto at this point in time. Naruto knew he would change that. The greatest heartache was that he could see Hinata at the edge of their shared vision. A few feet away, his younger incarnation slept as well, and likely dreamed of being Hokage and his infatuation with Sakura Nichin. How could I be so blind? Focus. He ordered himself and opened Sai's gift. Naruto immediately wished he hadn't. The truth would set him free, but he would wish he had never learned the realities of Konoha. It would have been kinder to guide the other Naruto towards the dream of Hokage while grooming him to utterly destroy Root and assist Nagato in the pursuit of peace. That luxurious illusion was stripped from Naruto as painfully as the eyes of his birth had been. The files detailed and confirmed Danzo's complicity in Nagato's second great pain. There was evidence of dozens of other crimes. Naruto bit his tongue to prevent crying out and awakening the other. Several of the crimes committed by Root had been known to Old Man Hokage. The simplicity of the agreement was insulting. Hiruzen turned a blind eye to Danzo's actions outside the walls of the Hidden Leaf, so long as Root did not act inside the walls. Naruto felt Hinata's tears on his cheeks as he uncovered 3 great abominations. Root had many dealings with the Hyuga. Danzo conspired with the Hyuga elders to remove threats to the purity of the clan in exchange for supporting Danzo when the cripple sought to seize the tower. Root and the Hyuga had conducted a systematic campaign to break Hayashi and later Hinata. They had sabotaged security the night of the attempt to steal Hinata. Naruto bit his index finger so hard that blood was drawn. They had murdered Hinata's mother in their attempts to seize the clan. Naruto felt the Kyuubi stirring behind his reinforced seal, but continued. The next file detailed the tragedy of Itachi and Sasuke. As Naruto read, he felt his respect and love for Old Man Hokage begin to die. Surely, there had to have been another way. It was true that the planned Uchiha coup would have been disastrous for Konoha. But to have Itachi murder the entire clan? Naruto felt his bile rise even further, as he read that Danzo only agreed to Itachi's pleading request to spare Sasuke because the leader of Root sought to turn Sasuke into a weapon. The final abomination broke Naruto's heart. He would never be able to look at the Sandaime again. Naruto could not tell his younger self about this file until they merged. Danzo and Hiruzen both had plans for Naruto. They both wished for him to be Konoha's weapon. It was just that they saw different ways to condition the Jinchuriki. The bastard Danzo wished to strip Naruto of all emotion and turn him into an unthinking automaton. The Sandaime, on the other hand, wished to tie Naruto to the village with emotional chains that he held in his grip. Each of the dueling elders had even gone so far as to alter the reports Jiraiya received on Naruto's life. This was not the Konoha Naruto or his father had given their everything for. They defended the dream of Konoha. This village did not deserve you, father. This village does not deserve you, Hinata. Naruto rose from the chair and hid the documents behind a loose floorboard. He rewrapped the bandages after casting a final glance towards his sleeping counterpart. Originally, Naruto planned on guiding his young self towards destroying only Danzo and Root. Now, he had a new goal. The reality of Konoha was rotten and unworthy of the grandeur of the dream. He would see this mockery of his father and his love's sacrifice cast down. Konoha the reality would be destroyed so that Konoha the dream could bloom in its place. Naruto groaned as he sat up. He really didn't want to get up because that dream had been awesome. Naruto had just been named the Godame Hokage after kicking the crap out of Sasuke. Sakura-chan and the other girls had even started following him around. They even hand-fed him ramen. It was the best dream ever. Then it had ended. As great as that dream was, the one that followed was its total opposite. It could only be described as pain. You changed me, Naruto. Your smile is what saved me. That is why I am not afraid to die if it means I can protect you. It was a girl, but Naruto was pinned to the ground and could not see her face. There was a flash, and a new scene appeared in his mind's eye. A man whose face was clouded had just stabbed Naruto's mysterious savior. Out of love, sacrifice is born, hate is born, and we are able to know pain. As Naruto heard those words, he wanted to scream. But no sound escaped his lips. Instead, he simply awoke. What the hell was that dream? Naruto sighed, and for some reason checked to see if his eyes were still there. He shook off his confusion after a moment. It returned quickly, but was focused on the present. There was someone in his kitchen. He could hear the water boiling. Naruto reached under his other pillow and pulled out a kunai. He slipped up to the wall. Good morning, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto came around the corner and stared at the intruder. He looks like me. Who are you? Complicated. The water's boiled. I'll explain over ramen. The intruder reached up into the cupboard without looking and grabbed 2 cups of ramen. He tossed one over to Naruto and walked over with a kettle and another cup of instant ramen. The entire world froze as Naruto got a good look at his guest. You have my birthmarks. Our hair is the same color. I bet our eyes are the same too. The kettle hit the table and actually bounced. Naruto felt a wave of pity as the man who looked like him slipped into the chair. They used to. What do you mean used to? I'm not ready to talk about that. The man swallowed. Naruto wasn't the sharpest kunai in the holster, but he could tell the guest was on the verge of tears. Alright, I won't ask about that, but seriously, who are you? It took a second for the other guy to respond. He simply opened his ramen and poured the hot water over it. He shakily handed the kettle to Naruto. This will freak you out. I'm you from the future. Bullshit. What's the date? June 2nd, 519. The present Naruto finally decided to eat his ramen and poured the water. Alright, here's some proof. 2 days ago, you attempted the academy graduation exam for the 2nd time. We actually did really well on the written exam. Question 9 on the economics of the Nidaime Hokage threw us for a loop. We transformed into Iruka-sensei perfectly but screwed up the Bunshin. Oh, and you asked out Sakura, but she hit you and left to chase after Sasuke. Naruto felt his jaw drop. You are me. His counterpart nodded. What should I call you? I mean, it'll get confusing calling each other Naruto all the time. Call me by our father's last name. Call me Namikaze. Naruto dropped his ramen. He didn't react to it hitting the edge of the table and falling off to the side. Everyone in Konoha knew the last name Namikaze. You're lying. You can't be me. This is some prank. Namikaze rose and walked over to the training closet and came back with a kunai. I have memorized every inch of this apartment. This is the only home I have ever known. He presented his hand to Naruto and cut it. I am not a transformation or a bunshin. For the first time, Naruto truly looked at Namikaze. His older counterpart looked like hell. The clothes he wore were ragged and filthy. There was dried blood over many areas of his body. Naruto found he couldn't look away from the bandages around his eyes. Why are you here? Why come back? Naruto thought for a moment. The future can't be so horrible that you'd actually miss living alone and ignored. You are right, Namikaze said, and Naruto felt a bit relieved. His older self was probably sent back in time by some vengeful enemy to avoid getting his butt kicked by Godame Hokage Uzumaki. It's worse. The Uzumaki's fantasy shattered. How bad was it? We lost everything. Namikaze Naruto sighed and sat down. I have so much to tell you, but I want you to ask me the questions. You'll be better prepared for my answers. Silence descended. It hovered in their air like an oppressive heat. Why are we ignored? Why does no one care about us? Naruto, what I'm about to tell you cannot leave this room. You will probably hate me, but at least listen to me. Before I tell you, I want you to swear you will keep this a secret. You cannot tell anyone about this. Not the Hokage, not Iruka-sensei, not anyone. There was something about Namikaze Naruto's voice that made him obey immediately. Naruto, you know that the nine-tailed demon fox attacked Konoha on the day you were born. The younger blonde nodded. The fourth Hokage did indeed fight the demon fox. He was the only one who could. But not even Namikaze Minato could beat the demon fox. A demon is a being of pure chakra. They cannot be killed. There is only one surefire way to put down a demon. Seal it away. The bastard fox is too strong to be contained in an object. It has to be a person. An adult isn't the best choice because the chakra coils will be damaged by the power of the demon and the person won't live as long. A baby is the best choice because the chakra coils can adapt to the power of the creature. Namikaze paused. He saw the look of abject terror on Naruto's face. It was the same look he had all those years ago when Mizuki ran his mouth. Minato was selfless. He couldn't ask a family to make a sacrifice that he was unwilling to do. So, he sealed the fox within his own son. There was another reason the Yondaime did this. He had faith in his son. He knew that his son could resist the demon. Minato also knew that the fox had been controlled by an evil man, and that his son would need the power to one day defeat this evil. This is true, Naruto. You are the jailer of the nine-tailed fox, and the son of the fourth Hokage. His last wish was that we, be viewed as a hero for keeping the fox sealed away. Naruto jumped up and knocked the now cool kettle from the table. If he wanted it, why does everyone hate me? Why am I ignored? Why doesn't anyone say anything about this? Pain. Pain drives them. They cannot get revenge on you because the Hokage protects you from direct attacks. He also passed a law punishing anyone who reveals that the fox is sealed within you with execution. They cannot do anything, so they choose to do nothing. They ignore you. Naruto looked at his older self. Then why do the kids hate and ignore me? They follow their parents' example. You will reach the kids your age. Trust me, I did. Naruto saw his future smile. It comforted him a little bit. I've only got a few more questions. This is a lot to take in. I understand. It was tough for me too. The younger Naruto took off his sleeping cap and looked at it. He wasn't sure why he was so attached to this thing. It looked ridiculous, but it had been a gift. Naruto had found it on his doorstep on his 10th birthday. There had been a simple note, "Happy birthday, Naruto-kun." Did they love me? Our parents, I mean. Namikaze smiled. They did, and they are, and will be proud of you. Thank you. He swallowed. Naruto knew there would be a million other questions later. Last one about the big stuff for now. Is there anyone who knows about the fox that still cares about me because I'm Naruto? This is where it will begin. I swear to you that you will not have to wait until the stars die this time. There are a few. Iruka-sensei and old man Tucci spring to mind. I think there is one person in our class at the academy who deeply cares, but I'm not sure if she knows about the fox yet. What about the Hokage? Who is the girl? Namikaze looked away. I'm not sure about the Hokage at the moment. I learned a great many things recently. I'm still trying to figure it out. I hate to say that I have doubts. The girl, I don't have any doubts about her. Well, who is she? Namikaze leaned back in the chair. He had to start preparing his younger self for the trials that would come. There was so much that needed to change, and so much he had to prepare for. Konoha would not fall easily. Even as rotten as the village was, it was still strong. The specter of Orochimaru loomed over everything. Then there was Toby to worry about. I have to meet with Nagato Nizan and Konan Nichin. I'll have to leave Konoha to gather support. I can probably convince Erosenin and Bachan to join me. It's ironic that I am going to be the hardest person to convince. Gah, there is so much to do. But first, I have to prepare Naruto. Naruto, I want you to figure it out on your own. Oh, come on. Why can't you just tell me? Namikaze laughed at his younger self when he crossed his arms and pouted. So that's why Iruka-sensei always laughed. Because I don't want you to be as dense as I was. One of my teachers told me that a good ninja can look underneath the underneath. I know the mistakes I made, and I can help you avoid them. Really? You can help make me a kick-ass ninja? Hey! You're Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. You'll be a kick-ass ninja even if I didn't help you out. But I couldn't save her. Cool, so how will figuring out who this girl is on my own help me? Well, ninjas need to be observant. You need to know what is going around you at all times. This will help you pick up on what everyone around you is about to do or thinking about doing. Naruto nodded with enthusiasm. I think I get it. Is there anything else you need to talk about? Namikaze asked, hoping there wasn't. He needed as much time to think as Naruto did. No, I'm going to go do some training. That might help clear my head. May I make a suggestion? Chakra control. That should help with your Banshin problem. I'll show you something. Come with me to the stairwell. Naruto nodded and followed Namikaze into the hall. They were on the 3rd floor. Naruto's apartment complex was older, and the stairs weren't in the top shape. Old Man Hokage said it was scheduled for repair at the end of the year. Namikaze stopped and turned around. This is called tree walking because it's generally done on trees, but you can use it on any surface. Not only is it a good chakra control exercise, but you can use it during missions to gain advantages. Watch closely. The older blonde simply walked straight ahead. Namikaze strolled up the wall casually and stopped. Wow! That's amazing! Namikaze smiled. He missed having that amount of enthusiasm. The future Naruto could feel it deep within himself, but the pain of losing Hinata-chan, Kakashi-sensei, Bachan and the rest of the 11 was still too fresh. It is. The trick is to find the right amount of chakra. Too much and you'll fly off the tree. Too little and you'll slide down like overly wet ramen noodles down your throat. I'm going to the park to try this. Before I go, any hints on the kid my age who doesn't hate me? She's very quiet. Tell you what, here's some more training. Like I said earlier, if you want to be a successful ninja, you'll need to be aware of everything around you. While you're practicing climbing trees, keep an eye out for anything unusual. Oh, before I forget, take a kunai to mark your progress on the tree climbing. Work on getting higher than last time. Don't stop until you reach the top. Naruto jumped up. Thanks of me, I guess. I'll be back later. After the younger Jinchuriki had rushed off, Namikaze's other temporal ally emerged from the shadows. It is good to see that you made it back, Naruto-kun. But I am curious, how are there two of you? The great old geezer mentioned that time couldn't fuse me with my past self because I bear Hinata's gift. Well, not immediately. I will eventually merge with Naruto. It should take a year or more. Yamato sighed. We have a great deal of work to do. Namikaze started removing the bandages. They had served their purpose. Captain Yamato, I need you to see what Sai brought us. The two time travelers entered Uzumaki Naruto's small apartment. The sage opened the loose floorboard and removed Sai's documents. He tossed them across the table to the ANBU captain. You will not like what you read. Naruto was unintentionally curt. Yamato stared at the documents for a moment. I am surprised that you are adjusting so well to the transplant. I could never reject her. Naruto sat down. I know our enemies are pathological liars, but the internal reports will have some truth to them. The ANBU captain nodded and started reading. As he read deeper into the crimes of Root, he was appalled that the Sandaime was implemented in several operations. Yamato rose to his feet and paced around the room when he read about the depths of Danzo's madness. His lust for the tower and the twisted bargains he struck with many elements of Konoha were nearly inhuman. The massacre of the Uchiha clan, the assistance to the Hyuga Council, and the dueling desires to reduce Naruto to a weapon were like physical blows. This is not the Konoha I swore to serve. Naruto leaned forward. We must destroy the reality of Konoha and restore the dream of Konoha, Databeo. Let's not rush into things, Naruto. I will check the ANBU records. If I find anything that can corroborate the Root documents Sai gave us, then we will work out a course of action. We are all upset about the betrayal we suffered, you more than anyone. But we cannot rush into this. Naruto remained silent as he remembered Nagato's words to Ero Sennin, but someday I'll break the curse. If there's such a thing as peace, I will find it. Faith is better than any plan. He would give Yamato some time to find evidence. Namake's Naruto knew that regardless of what Yamato found, Naruto and his brother apprentice would still change the world. Naruto took a deep breath. He needed to clear his head before attempting the exercise Namake's told him about. Unfortunately, everything else Namake's had told him about was making it near impossible to concentrate. Could he believe a man who claimed to be his future self? There was no way Naruto could ask anyone about him. To hell with all that thinking. Naruto pushed everything to the back of his mind and focused on gathering chakra in his feet. He was going to reach top of the tree before nightfall. The blonde ran at the tree, and he realized that he wasn't sticking very well, but his momentum was carrying him upwards. He got a few feet before falling back to earth. Not quite enough, the blonde muttered, and pushed more chakra into his feet. He was climbing the tree a lot easier this time. He made it nearly 6 feet up when he felt himself begin to push off. Naruto always had trouble suppressing his chakra. Right before he exploded off the tree, he got the brilliant idea to simply divert chakra to other parts of his body. It worked. Tragically, Naruto became so excited by his success that he jumped up in the air and shouted. He had momentarily forgotten that he was on the tree and fell to the ground. Crap! I almost got it! Hello, Naruto. Naruto shot up at the voice. Oh, hey Iruka-sensei. The academy instructor smiled and offered Naruto his hand. It's good to see you hard at work. Though, I'm curious how you learned about such an advanced chakra control exercise. You, know how I have a ton of training scrolls. Iruka nodded his head. I, learned it from one of those. Can't exactly tell you that a version of me from a nightmare future told me about it. Well, I'm glad to see that you can study if you put your mind to it. Iruka smiled. Naruto dusted himself off. Naruto laughed nervously. Hopefully this'll help me with that stupid Bunshin roadblock. I'm sure it will, but the Bunshin is a basic ninja technique that everyone has to learn. Iruka added in his teacher voice. The blonde picked back up the kunai. I guess, but does anyone actually use the Bunshin technique? I mean, it's just a simple illusion. You even said in class that skilled ninja aren't fooled by the technique. At least the transformation technique can fool civilians and help with spying on them. I've been reading up on jutsus, and the only really useful technique we learn is the body replacement. Iruka wasn't sure whether he should be impressed by Naruto's reasoning or insulted that he basically called part of the academy's curriculum useless. Think of it this way, the Bunshin is also a gauge of the level of chakra control you possess. Oh, I guess when you put it that way, it kinda makes sense. The instructor was pleased to see his student somewhat mollified by his explanation. Well, I have to get to the Hokage's tower and work on team selections. I'm proud of how hard you're working, Naruto, and I'm sure that I'll be suggesting you for after the next term. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. Naruto grinned broadly as his favorite teacher headed to the tower. Naruto's future self had said that Iruka was one of the people who had always accepted him. He could believe that. If Namake's was telling the truth about that, maybe everything he talked about was true. Naruto didn't know if he was supposed to be comforted by that realization or terrified by it. It was a strange feeling. That was the only way Namake's could describe the course of action he had decided on. His entire life had been dedicated to defending Konoha and becoming Hokage. Now, his ultimate goal was to see his home village torn down. The future Naruto realized on some level that he was still defending Konoha. Currently, Konoha was a cruel mockery of the visions of the first and fourth Hokages. I never thought I'd turn my back on you, Hokage-ji. The elder Naruto flopped at the edge of the bed. He couldn't bring himself to blame Sarutobi for letting Orochimaru escape. Namikaze knew that if he laid the blame for that at the third's feet, that he would be a hypocrite of the highest order. He would have done the same thing if confronted with Sasuke. Was it such sentimentality a weakness? Possibly. No, the real reason for Namikaze's crisis of faith centered around two other of the third Hokage's failings. The first was turning a blind eye to Danzo's actions outside of Konoha. Root's crushing of the Punjab group extended the civil war in the Land of Woods for another 2.5 years. In those 2.5 years, nearly 1,000 people died. The chaos in the Land of Woods was one of the chief reasons for the alliance between Suna and Konoha. Then, there was the Hyuga incident. Naruto had been taught by Kakashi that those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are lower than trash. Konoha and the third Hokage were willing to hand over Hayashi to Kumo. Yes, the solution involving the sacrifice of Niji's father prevented a conflict, but there were other ways to handle the situation. The blame for the incident rested solely with Kumo. Naruto did not hold a militant view at all, but Konoha should have stood firm against an action that was essentially blackmail. Konoha was allied with Kusa and Suna at the time. If the alliance had presented a unified front, Kumo would have backed down. Instead, a good man was sacrificed, and a vicious cycle of hatred was born. Naruto sighed and looked out the window. You are troubled, my brother apprentice. The sudden appearance of Nagato's Deva Path startled Namikaze. The blonde fell off the bed with a surprised yelp. He looked up and saw a shimmering outline of Yahiko. The only definitive feature was Nagato's Rinnegan. Naruto got to his feet. That's a bit of an understatement. Are you back in Amigakure? I have returned home. We do not have much time to talk. My animal path will be summoning a messenger bird to deliver the truth about the man you know as Toby to you. Why have you not merged as Captain Yamato and I have with our past selves? The blonde activated the transplanted Bikugan. Hinata's Bikugan. It created an imbalance and time is compensating for it. I will merge with my younger self in 1 year's time. I believe that this can be a huge help for us. We can use the time to prepare for what needs to be done. Konoha is rotten to the core. It has forgotten the truth of the will of fire. It no longer protects the world out of love. It seeks to perpetuate itself by any means. In order for Konoha to be reborn into what it should be, it has to be destroyed as it is. Konoha is not alone in its crimes. All the villages are equally as guilty. Nagato's Deva Path countered. Naruto shook his head. The smaller villages like Takigakure, Amigakure and Hoshigakure are isolationist. I'm sure we can sway them to our cause. It's just the Kage villages that are the threat. Nagato and I-san, what are your plans for Akatsuki? I do not wish to pursue the Biju as we did in our previous life, but as long as Uchiha Madara we cannot safely change paths. Madara? Naruto knew the name was familiar, but he couldn't place it. You know him as Toby. All will be explained when you receive the summon. Namikaze sat back on the bed. If he worries you, even a little bit, I think my plan to go recruit Bachan and Erosenin just got a bit more urgent. The two brother apprentices were quiet as they weighed each other's words. They would be powerful allies. Yeah, you know how strong Erosenin is. Well, Bachan is just as strong. Naruto deactivated Hinata's gift. Nagato and I-san, I'm going to stay in Konoha for a little while longer. Yamato is searching for evidence to confirm the documents Sai gave us. When he gets those, I will convince both Captain Yamato and my younger self to embrace our ideals. After that, I'll get Bachan and Erosenin and we'll deal with this Madara character. Deva Path bowed his head. You must hurry. We only have a year. I know. Peace is within our grasp. Normally, Yamato hated the paperwork that his position as A&BU captain forced on him. At the moment, he was glad for the access to A&BU records. Yamato was reviewing a report by Tawa. He had been on an assassination mission along the border with the Land of Woods. Tawa had succeeded in his mission and eliminated the nuke Nin that had been raiding the Land of Fire. Yamato decided to personally file the report. The opportunity to confirm or hopefully, deny some of Naruto's suspicions was too great. The time traveler flipped through the documents and found a report from a large mission several years ago to the Land of Woods. Yamato felt a pain in his chest as the dates matched those of the elimination of the Punjab group. He had always felt that operation had far too many ANBU on it for a simple reconnaissance in force. Naruto, why did you have to be right about this? Namikaze was meditating when Naruto arrived. The younger Jinchuriki was shocked. Meditating was an activity he never thought he'd ever do. Naruto wasn't a censor nin, but even he could practically feel the power radiating off his future self. Why am I? Arg, why is he mediating? Stupid time travel, stop confusing me. Naruto clutched his head and groaned. He is centering himself and gathering nature chakra. Naruto leapt into the air and yelled in surprise as a voice appeared behind him. How did you do that? Yamato smiled behind his mask. Boo. Namikaze opened his eyes. How did my armor? Forget it. How did the training go? Naruto looked straight at his future self's eyes. They were surrounded by a brownish pattern. The pupils were a horizontal rectangle instead of a circle. Instead of his natural blue, they were golden. It went really well. Good. Namikaze smiled. What did you find, Captain Yamato? The ANBU sighed. There was a large ANBU reconnaissance in force to the Land of Woods at the time of the route operation against the Punjab group. What the heck are you guys talking about? Naruto asked nervously. Remember how I said you could tell absolutely no one about the QB and who your parents are? Namikaze asks. Yeah, but what about this ANBU guy? Can we trust him? Naruto never took his eyes off Yamato. Namikaze smiled softly. Captain Yamato was one of my friends who came back in time with me. I have faith in him. The explanation eased, but did not erase Naruto's concerns. Fine, but what are you talking about? What's Root? Root is a splinter division of ANBU. Instead of answering to the Hokage, they answer to Danzo. Yamato said with a bit of venom. Danzo is the one behind the betrayal that forced us back in time. He is our enemy. He is your enemy. Namikaze matched and surpassed Captain Yamato's anger. Naruto, I have to leave. I just wanted to let you know that we have evidence supporting the elimination of the Punjab group. I'm sorry. Namikaze sighed. There was a part of me that wished you would prove me wrong, Captain Yamato. But thanks for finding the information. The ANBU disappeared. Naruto turned to his elder self. These guys are bad news then? I mean, if they are made up of ANBU level ninja. It's a lot worse than that. Danzo has stripped them of all emotion. Root agents are little more than slaves. And that is how that bastard Danzo treats them. He treats them as little more than tools after burying their humanity. That's horrible, Naruto yelled. It really is. He wants to do that to us. Naruto sat down on the edge of his bed. Because of the QB. Yes. Namikaze breathed deeply. Our enemy views us as little more than a kunai. To Danzo, we would be nothing more than another tool on his path to being Hokage. Too bad for him, I'm going to be Hokage, Naruto declared. And here is where I begin to kill my own dream. Naruto, that will be difficult. Of course it will. Is anything worth doing easy? Namikaze smiled, truly smiled, at his younger self. No, nothing ever is. But there are many people who would oppose you becoming Hokage. Why? I'd be a kick-ass Hokage. I know. The problem is we care for the people of Konoha even after how most have treated us. The clans, Danzo, and other groups want to keep Konoha as it is now. We change things and cause a lot of corrupt people to lose power and wealth. But that's a good thing. We'd make things better, Databeo. Naruto pounded his fist into his palm. Heck yeah, we would. The catch is that the corrupt people in Konoha don't want things to get better. Namikaze spoke with the same intensity as his younger self. He walked over to the loose floorboard and pulled out sized documents. Namikaze flipped through the documents and pulled out the papers detailing Root paying off the orphanages to keep their recruiting secret. I'm going to have to find a new place for these. The last thing I need is for me, him reading too much and rushing off to try and smash Root. The gods know I want to, but we aren't strong enough yet. This is an example of what we have to deal with. Namikaze handed the papers to Naruto. A wave of disgust rolled over the young child's face. The report detailed the orphans that were purchased and divided into two groups, experiments and recruits. Root was treating the orphans, kids similar to Naruto, like items you'd pick up at the store. Naruto couldn't believe that the report casually said that only 40% of the acquisitions would survive. They're kids, not groceries. That is how Danzo and Root think. And as long as people continue to get rich or get political support from Danzo and his allies, they will refuse to change. Namikaze growled. What do we have to do? Namikaze thought for a moment. How do I explain this? You know what you do with a plant in winter? The older man asked. Naruto thought for a minute. Yeah, you cut back the dead branches so that when new branches grow in spring, they grow in healthy. Well, that's Konoha. Right now, it's winter. The branches, Root, the guilds, some of the clans and other groups are dead and rotten. We're going to cut back the dead branches so a new Konoha can grow. The young blonde flopped back on the bed. If we do that, we'd have to fight a whole lot of people. I know the two of us can kick a whole lot of ass, but I don't think we can take on half of Konoha yet. You're right. Namikaze saw his counterpart's face fall. I'll train you a bit before I leave Konoha. Wait. You'll train me? Why would you leave? The 11-year-old shot up. Namikaze sighed. I'm going to teach you a little bit. And I'm going to leave Konoha to talk to some people who will help us. Awesome. I bet you're going to teach me some kick-ass jutsus that'll knock Sasuke down a few pegs. They would, if we didn't need to keep them secret. Namikaze interrupted the oncoming rant. He enjoyed them, but they had to stay focused. Naruto stared at Namikaze in open-mouthed disbelief. Not cool. You're me, so you know how much I love to show off awesome jutsus. I know. It's just we have to keep it secret for now. If you start showing off, our enemies will know something is up, and we won't be able to hit them as hard later. So you're saying, it's like the sneaking around before a prank? Naruto scratched the back of his head. You've got it. Namikaze suddenly became serious. Naruto, I need to know if you are willing to fight against Konoha to save it. Naruto looked at the ground. Well, I'm not sure if I like the idea of fighting against the village. I mean, my dream is to be Hokage. But I guess I didn't realize things were so bad. I mean, everyone looks up to old man Hokage. It's hard to imagine they'd do such horrible things. If they are willing to ignore Dad's last wish and basically thumb their noses at the old man's law about the fox, does it really surprise you they do everything I've told you about? Naruto could hear the pain in Namikaze's voice and matched it with his own. Is there anyone worth saving? There are a few, and they will become our most precious people. The child sighed. Then I guess I'll have to start cutting away Konoha's dead branches to protect my precious people. Naruto found his way to the swing outside of the academy. It was strange how he always seemed to find this place when he was desperate to escape the stress of his isolation or some other turmoil. Naruto had thought failing the Chunin exam for the second time was the worst experience of his life. He knew now that the Chunin exam was nothing compared to Namikaze's memories or his counterpart's latest revelation. Namikaze had been teaching Naruto the shadow clone technique earlier this morning. Naruto was at first shocked that Namikaze would teach him a skill that, Naruto thought, they were both terrible at. The younger Uzumaki Naruto's shock quadrupled when Namikaze revealed shadow clones were his trademark technique. It had taken Naruto 4 hours to learn the basics of the technique. Naruto felt his excitement building with each step forward. Naruto wanted to see how many clones he could fit into the abandoned basement of his apartment complex. He filled the basement with nearly 150 clones. Naruto had burned a decent amount of chakra fueling the jutsu, but he had instantly received an influx of chakra from Namikaze. The infusion had not been voluntary or simply chakra. Memories, horrible memories, flooded Naruto's mind. When a person has something important to protect, that is when they can truly become strong. He was a boy as pure as snow. Naruto had screamed for Namikaze to explain. There was a part of Naruto that dreaded whatever answer Namikaze would give him. That part of his mind was validated. Namikaze revealed to Naruto that the memories were of Namikaze's first C-rank mission that rapidly escalated into an A rank against Momochi Zabuza, Yuki Haku, and the Demon Brothers. Namikaze spoke of how he considered Haku and Zabuza his friends even though they had been enemies. He spoke of how their sacrifice shaped his personal beliefs. Shinobi were not emotionless tools. Shinobi are human beings with a great power and responsibility. Are they going to die this time? Naruto had asked in a small voice. Namikaze had responded with a firm, passionate no. Naruto's future counterpart's conviction eased the pain of the memories of the never were. The second revelation shook him even deeper. Namikaze revealed the reason for the memory transfer. In a year's time, Naruto and Namikaze would cease to be separate beings. They would merge into one person. Namikaze had been clear that Naruto would be the one to remain. But was that true? The shock of the memory transfer and the eventual merger was too much. Naruto simply left the apartment. Would Naruto still be Naruto, or would he be Namikaze or perhaps something else entirely? Naruto took a deep breath and looked out towards Konoha. I'm not going to accomplish anything sitting on the swing. The boy got up and walked into town. Naruto was paying a lot more attention than usual to his surroundings. Off to his left, the Usurers Guild was repossessing a man's home. At his right, a couple of thugs were gambling in an alley. Naruto hated what he saw. He also hated that Namikaze was right. There was so much good in Konoha, but there was an equal amount of misery. Naruto returned to his apartment and found Namikaze sitting on the couch. Namikaze looked up with the eyes that were not his. I wish there was another way. So do I. Naruto sat next to the vision of his broken future. You said I should hide my abilities. I did. When we make our move, it will need to be fast and unseen. The powerful wish to keep Konoha as it is. I understand. When will you be leaving? Naruto asked. Soon. No more than 2 days. Namikaze confessed. Naruto nodded. I'm not sure I should be disappointed or thrilled that he's leaving so soon. What are you going to be doing? Getting help for our goals, Namikaze said simply. Naruto stood up and stretched. Haku and Zabuza? They'll definitely be helping us. I want to meet them. I like Haku's idea about becoming strong when you protect people. There's nothing like that in the ninja rules. Naruto smiled. That's because the ninja rules are designed to put the mission above people. Namikaze sank into the couch. Naruto felt his smile vanish. Well, that's bullshit. Namikaze laughed. It was interesting seeing what he was like from the outside. I have to say, I really like myself. Damn right it is. I'm going to go to Ichiraku's and then work on my chakra control exercises. Want to come? Naruto asked. I love that place, but no thanks. I need to keep a low profile. The pain in Namikaze's voice was evident. He was denying himself ramen. Well, I'll see you later. Naruto grabbed a kunai and rushed through the door. Namikaze sighed and reached behind the couch cushion. He pulled out Nagato and Iasan's scroll and began reading again. It was hard to believe that Tobi was actually Madara Uchiha. Naruto had found it hard to believe for a moment. Then a few pieces fell into place. First, his interest in Sasuke and Itachi had a different edge to it than any Naruto had ever seen. Namikaze Naruto remembered the tone of voice he had taken after Zetsu had reported that Itachi and Sasuke had been found. Second, Kakashi-sensei had sworn he saw that Tobi had a Sharingan eye. Namikaze considered Kakashi-sensei one of the few people Naruto could trust. Tobi had also been able to predict all their attacks. Namikaze had fought and trained against the Sharingan enough to recognize its abilities. Finally, Namikaze had traveled through time. If that was possible, were immortality or an extended youth and vitality that hard to believe? Tsunade and Erosenin were old and still incredibly powerful. It wasn't too much of a stretch that Madara could remain strong even when pushing a century. Namikaze knew that regardless of the true nature of Madara, that the ancient Uchiha had to be stopped. The short break between the academy terms had finally ended. Naruto had spent the days training with Namikaze in the use of shadow clones and on chakra control. It still annoyed Naruto that he couldn't show off his new abilities, but the thought of having Anbu asking numerous uncomfortable questions wasn't appealing at all. Think of this as the greatest prank in history, Namikaze had said. Naruto had to admit that part of him liked the idea. Naruto shook off the memory and entered the classroom. He was a few minutes early. Truthfully, he was seeking the normalcy of the academy after the upheaval Namikaze's arrival had caused. This is also a chance to find the mystery girl, Naruto thought with a touch of sadness. He suspected that it wasn't Sakura-chan. If it was, Namikaze would have said something. Sakura-chan was obvious, so Naruto wouldn't have to look underneath the underneath. Naruto sighed because he didn't have a clue about many of the girls in his class. Almost all of them chased after Sasuke. The blonde felt a flash of anger. Why did they chase after Sasuke? He would never acknowledge any of them. Sasuke never complimented any of the girls when they wore something pretty or thanked them for trying to do something nice. Naruto complimented them and tried to be nice all the time. What did Sasuke do to deserve confirmation of his existence like that? Getting angry won't help. Naruto closed his eyes and emulated Namikaze's meditation exercises. It shocked Naruto how well a simple breathing exercise helped. He looked around the room. Mizuki-sensei and Irika-sensei were talking in front of the room. Shikamaru and Choji were in their usual spots in the middle row. Shino was looking out the window. The only other people in the room were a couple of civilian-born students whose names Naruto couldn't remember. Naruto leaned back against the wall. A moment later, Sasuke entered and passed Naruto without a glance. Ino and Sakura burst through arguing about who was first. "What are you doing here, Naruto? Didn't you fail?" Sakura practically grunted. "Do you really think I'll ever give up?" Naruto was hurt by the tone. Sakura and Ino just walked on to fight over who would sit next to Sasuke. A second knot of Kunoichi students entered the room and migrated to the side Sasuke was sitting on. The final girl to enter was the very quiet Hinata. She's the only girl that doesn't go googly-eyed whenever Sasuke does something. Might as well, Naruto thought. "Mind if I sit here?" Naruto asked. Hinata's eyes went wide and she nodded. I don't mind." "Thanks." Naruto sat down and scanned the room. Namikaze had drilled the need to be more observant into Naruto. Namikaze had also confused the hell out of Naruto. The future Uzumaki had spoken at length about how a betrayal had forced Namikaze to return to the past. In the next breath, he had spoken about the importance of trusting one's friends. Naruto wasn't the smartest shinobi in Konoha, but he knew that betrayal implied that a bond of trust had been broken. Everything Namikaze had spoken of either confused Naruto or shattered his worldview. Only Namikaze's steadfast declaration that the mystery girl, Irika-sensei, and a handful of others Naruto had yet to meet accepted and loved him unconditionally kept him moving forward. At night, Naruto had recalled more of his conversation with Haku. Not being needed by anyone, the pain of simply living. "Is this something wrong, Naruto-kun?" Hinata's sudden words shook Naruto out of his reverie. "I'm okay. I've just had trouble sleeping. It's been a rough couple of days, but I'll bounce back and be better than ever." Naruto poured every ounce of bravado he could into his words. Now, if someone acknowledged you from the bottom of their heart, wouldn't that someone become the most important person to you? "Oh, okay, Naruto-kun. If you need someone to talk about it," with Hinata was blushing furiously, and it took every bit of her will to keep talking. "Thank you, Hinata." Naruto beamed while internally cursing. "Damn you, Namikaze." Hinata was working on her Juken forms in training ground 7 after class. Normally, Hinata trained after class, so she would have a legitimate and acceptable reason for coming home so late. Today, Hinata was training to work out the nervous energy she had built up. Naruto-kun. She still had trouble believing he had spoken to her today. Hinata was ecstatic that the person she admired most in the world had acknowledged her. It even looked like Naruto was moving on from Sakura. Maybe, just maybe, Hinata thought hopefully. The hope was quickly squashed beneath a pang of guilt. "I shouldn't base my happiness on this." Naruto-kun seemed so hurt today. The momentary doubt caused her form to slip. Hinata sighed as she righted her stance. "You shouldn't hesitate. You are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for, Hyuga Hinata." Hinata yelped at the sudden arrival. She activated her Byakugan as she turned to face the source of the voice. A young man wearing nondescript clothing stood several feet away. His stance was casual and Hinata's Byakugan did not detect any weapons. Who are you? Why do you have the same seal as Naruto-kun?" "Namikaze." Hinata was caught off guard by the softness in the man's tone. She wasn't sure if she should feel pity for or nervous around Namikaze. There was a hint of longing in his tone that was a bit unnerving. What do you want?" The Hyuga heiress fought to keep the unease she felt from coloring her voice. To tell you the basis behind Jinin team selections. Namikaze answered with a casual shrug. Hinata squeaked out a what, and Namikaze continued. The Rookie of the Year, the top-ranked Kunoichi, and the dead last are all placed on the same team. Why tell me this? Hinata felt the unease being pushed aside by Hope. I want to ensure Naruto has at least one teammate who cares about him. I'm also sure Hayashi-sama would view you finishing as the #1 Kunoichi favorably. Would I really be on a team with Naruto-kun? The Hyuga pressed. The teams have always been arranged that way. The Night-Aim Hokage ordered the arrangement, and the Sand-Aim and the Yondaime continued the tradition. Namikaze smiled inside his hood. Why you are doing this for Naruto-kun? What is he to you? Hinata asked after a moment of contemplation. He is my past and my future, Namikaze said before turning and walking away. Hinata focused her dojutsu on the mysterious man's retreating form. Thank you. Namikaze came to a halt and whispered Bikugan. No one else is around, Captain Yamato. The ANBU captain emerged from his concealment. I hope that approaching Hinata-sen means you have reconsidered your plan. I am doing what needs to be done. The roots of Konoha are rotten. Most of the clans, Danzo, the guilds, they have abandoned the will of fire. I cannot allow such an infection to persist. Yamato knew how much Naruto was hurting. Naruto, I can't imagine what you are going through. But you are moving too fast. Your emotional wounds haven't healed yet. I don't think they'll ever heal, Captain Yamato. We only had 6 hours. I lost the one person, not just the one woman. The one person who ever told me that they loved me less than 6 hours after she told me. And we weren't even together for most of that time. The ANBU sighed. Naruto, all I'm asking is that you take some time and objectively think about what you are talking about. I'll take some time. I'm leaving Konoha soon. Could you keep an eye on Naruto for me? Namikaze spoke with a weariness Yamato never thought he would hear. That's all I ask and I promise. Yamato disappeared with a body flicker, and Namikaze made his way back to the apartment. Namikaze found Naruto working on his homework. The time traveler grunted in amusement. Since when do I actually complete my homework? Is that homework? Namikaze didn't even bother hiding the humor in his voice. Naruto kept working. It's a partner assignment. If I hadn't been teamed up with Hinata, I'd probably just skip this and go train. It's good you're thinking of your friends. Namikaze smiled and sat on the bed. I don't know if Hinata is a friend yet. I haven't really talked to her all that much. She was nice, but kinda weird. I mean, she would just randomly look away and get red. But hey, she doesn't chase after Sasuke, so she's got to be smart. Well, I think you should give her a chance, Namikaze said softly. I came to say goodbye. So you're really leaving? Naruto put down his pencil and finally looked up. I am. This will be the last time we will see each other as separate beings, Namikaze confessed. This still freaks me out. The child gulped. I mean, who will we be? Me or you? Namikaze could understand his fears. You will be you. I'll fade away. Everything I ever experience will become new memories. He paused. Think of it like remembering a dream. How can you be so calm? Namikaze, you're going to cease to exist, Naruto shouted. Naruto, I lost everything. All my friends. Namikaze's voice broke. The woman who loved me, they were all killed. If I can help you prevent that. It wasn't Sakura-chan, was it? Naruto knew what the answer would be. It was another hope Namikaze would dash. Not in the way you are thinking of. Sakura was the sister we never had. Namikaze tried his best to soften the blow. Oh! Naruto looked up. But I had friends? You will have many friends. If things work out, we won't lose any of them this time. Namikaze spoke with earnest confidence. Confidence Naruto did not share. That's good, Naruto said before sighing and turning back to his homework. I just hope you don't cause Irika-sensei to have a heart attack when you turn in that assignment. Namikaze smiled. Do I really have to keep everything a secret? I mean my awesome skills, Naruto suddenly asked. Yes, it'll keep us safe from our enemies. And academy grades don't matter in the long term. Want to hear who else was dead last in their class? Naruto kept writing. Sure. Jiraiya of the Sannin. No way. There was no way a Sannin could be dead last. Naruto blurted out in astonishment. He was, and look at what he accomplished. He trained the fourth Hokage, was one of the legendary 3 ninja, and is widely respected as one of the most powerful ninja in the entire world. Namikaze bit his lip when he caught his mistake. Jiraiya is still alive. I can't believe I let that slip. Damn, I miss you, Ero Sennin. Cool. If he can become that awesome and be dead last, then I can do even more awesome things. Naruto jumped up and pumped his fist. Namikaze fought the urge to release the breath he had been holding. Never stop believing in yourself, Namikaze said warmly as he rose from the bed. Good luck, Naruto. You too. Naruto sighed in relief after Namikaze left. The young Uzumaki constantly worried about absorbing more of Namikaze's memories before he was ready. Naruto needed to have some time and distance from his counterpart. Namikaze had forced Naruto to confront the ugly reality that hid behind the good of Konoha. Or is the ugliness hiding the good? Naruto thought as he finished the last bit of the homework. He shook off the overwhelming confusion and doubt. I need to see the truth for myself, the blonde said with determination. He put his homework assignment into his backpack. Naruto walked over to where he saw Namikaze stash the folder from Sai. There was a note that read, I took the files with me. I'll need them to convince several of our allies. Naruto grumbled at his future self a bit. I guess I'll just have to check the orphanage. The boy was not looking forward to heading back to that place. Naruto had always understood that the caretakers never felt comfortable around him. Now, he finally knew why. The fox. It also explained why the neglect he experienced at the orphanage transcended the purely emotional and social into physical neglect. It was so soon after the Nine-Tails attack. The pain everyone experienced was still raw and fresh. Unless I find a way to time travel like Namikaze, I can't change that. Naruto sighed. Better get moving. Naruto left through his window and leapt from building to building. He decided to approach the orphanage without leaping to minimize the attention he would draw to himself. Naruto remembered from the route report that an acquisition would be made tonight. If Namikaze knew I remembered the date on the report, he would have freaked. Naruto remained silent. He knew the only reason he remembered the date was because the horror of the report had seared the details into his mind. Naruto crept to the edge of the building and peered over the edge. A pair of masked ninja was talking with the orphanage headmaster. Naruto trembled with fear and anger at the huddling mass of children. How could the ninja be so calm knowing most of the orphans wouldn't survive? Stay calm. Here is the money. I trust there will be no leaks about our agreement. One of the agents spoke in a dull tone. The headmaster accepted the money and grunted. No need to threaten me. The hateful old man turned and re-entered the orphanage. Mayada-san wouldn't have let that happen. Naruto frowned as he remembered the one caretaker that was kind of nice to him. The roof. Naruto froze in place. The voice was so calm, and the serenity in the tone scared Naruto more than any amount of raving could have. The container. Naruto turned and faced the newly arrived masked ninja. How fortuitous. You will, of course, be coming with us. Naruto gulped and took a tentative step back. The stories Namikaze had poured into Naruto's ears about Root roared to the forefront of the young boy's mind. Horrible premonitions of being emotionally torn down and stripped of everything that made him Naruto danced in his mind's eye. I refuse to be a tool. I won't be anything other than Uzumaki Naruto. Do not resist, container. There is nothing to fear. If you come with us, we shall teach you to control the power within you. Help us make Konoha invincible. The agent pleaded with Naruto, but the effect was severely lessened by the utterly dry tone. I'm not a tool. Naruto tried to sound defiant, but his declaration came out more as a whimper. Naruto swore could see the ninja frown behind his mask. But you are a shinobi of the leaf. We are all tools of the village. How we serve does not matter, as long as we serve. What about our emotions? What about being proud of Konoha? What about being happy? The ninja took a single step forward. Emotions are superfluous. Happiness and pride are for civilians. All that matters is ensuring the dominance of Konoha. We aren't kunai. We're people as well as ninja. Naruto shouted. There's no way I'm coming with you. The Root and Biyu stood impassively. Naruto tensed when the unnamed ninja's shoulders slumped. The blonde knew the Biyu wasn't going to be letting Naruto go. Come on, Someone has to hear me yelling and making a scene. Container, my allies, and I are not giving you a choice. You will serve Konoha. The ANBU's voice remained impassive as he spoke. Naruto felt a trickle of sweat roll down his cheek. Where did the second ANBU go? Did he take the kids and leave his buddy to deal with me? Or, I'm going to protect Konoha, but I'm going to do it as Uzumaki Naruto, not some tool. Naruto heard his yell echo in the alley below him. It seems my attempts to convince you to willingly join the Foundation have failed. I do not relish this, but I must resort to force. The ANBU shook his head as he spoke. Damn it. I thought all my yelling would at least get some civilians to check to see what the racket was. Mokuton, Jukai Heki. A voice called out mere seconds before several twisted wooden pillars exploded from the roof. The pillars formed a solid wall that separated Naruto from the ANBU. The root disappeared with a body flicker before Yamato even landed on the roof. Damn it! Yamato ended his jutsu with a sigh. Naruto was now in a fighting stance after getting a moment to compose himself. It's okay, Naruto-san. The root agent is gone. Yamato spoke calmly and held his hands open at his sides. You're the ANBU who is buddies with Namikaze. Captain Yamato, right? Naruto asked warily. That is how your old friend knows me. We need to go to the Hokage. The man currently known as Tenzo removed his mask. Naruto gasped. What the hell are you doing? You're ANBU. You just can't take off your mask. I want you to trust me, Naruto. I might just be the only person you can trust in all of Konoha right now. Yamato knelt to Naruto's eye level. You aren't the only one I can trust. I know I can trust Iruka-sensei, and I know there is one person in my class I can trust. Naruto was almost desperate to remind the world that he wasn't alone. Yamato nodded and didn't say another word. His young friend took a deep breath. Let's go see the Hokage. I can't get Hinata in trouble for missing class and causing her to lose credit for that take-home assignment. Maybe there is some hope. Yamato didn't voice his concerns, but guided Naruto to the Hokage's tower. Even though it was late, Yamato and Naruto knew the Hokage would be dutifully working on the business of Konoha. As an up-and-coming member of ANBU, Tenzo had easy access to the Hokage. The wizened Hokage was exactly where the elite shinobi and the academy student were motioned into the office. Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting behind his desk finishing off the last of the day's paperwork. Tenzo and Naruto, what brings you to my office so late? The third Hokage asked with a smile. There was an attempt by a rogue ANBU to capture Naruto. I was on patrol and intervened. Yamato reported evenly. The Hokage nodded and turned his attention to Naruto. Naruto, what were you doing out so late? The Hokage asked. Naruto bristled at the question. I needed to get out of the house. I'd been sitting for a really long time doing my homework and was going crazy. Naruto answered. The boy almost glared at the Hokage. I can't believe he's more shocked that I was doing my homework than me nearly being kidnapped by a renegade ANBU. This rogue ANBU, did he say anything to you? Sarutobi continued to question Naruto. He called me the container. Naruto paused and took a breath. He knew instinctively not to reveal that he was aware of the Kyuubi. The Hokage would hunt down and stop Namikaze. That would doom any attempts to prevent the horrible betrayal Naruto's future incarnation had sacrificed so much to try to prevent. What does that mean, old man? The Hokage lit his pipe and closed his eyes. Naruto watched the third Hokage under a new and harsh light. I am not going to disappear, Hokage-sama. I never wanted you to find out this way, Naruto. I am going to reveal a difficult truth. Please, allow me to tell you everything before you speak. Naruto nodded and listened as Hiruzen explained the truth about the Kyuubi and how the fourth Hokage had sealed the demon into Naruto to protect the village. The Hokage continued to talk about how Naruto was the village's protector. The Hokage had a sad smile on his lips when he spoke of how Naruto did not deserve to be hated for the sacrifice he made for the village. Why me? Naruto asked. He doubted the third would tell him the truth. There was no way Sarutobi would reveal that Minato had faith in Naruto as his son. The Yondaime never revealed why he chose you. I believe he saw the amazing potential you possessed. Why can't you tell me that my father saw the amazing potential I possessed? Why can't you tell me that he sacrificed everything to protect me because my father loved me? The Hokage noticed the slump in Naruto's shoulders and misread the reason behind the reaction. I am sure this is a lot to take in. We can continue this discussion tomorrow. Hokage-sama, there is something else. Yamato spoke up. The ANBU noticed how the Sandane's eyes hardened for a fraction of a second. Yes, Tenzo? The individual who attempted to abduct Naruto mentioned the Foundation. That was the official name for Danzo's Root organization. I was led to believe that you disbanded Root years ago. There is no more Root, Hiruzen said with finality. But, Hokage-sama, Yamato pressed. The Hokage stared down the ANBU. There is no Root. But old man, there's no way real ANBU would buy kids as slaves. Naruto shot from his chair and shouted. That is a disturbing accusation, Naruto, and I promise I will personally look into it. Go home and rest, Naruto. The third ordered. Naruto opened his mouth to speak, but said nothing and began to leave. Tenzo, you have a new long-term mission. You are to observe Naruto and ensure there are no further attempts to seize him. Is this assignment purely ANBU or full-time, Hokage-sama? Tenzo asked. Use your own discretion. Dismissed. Hinata entered the academy nearly 15 minutes early. She had barely slept at all the previous night. Ko had confirmed what Namikaze had told her yesterday after school. At first, Hinata had been ecstatic that becoming the top-ranked kunoichi would not only force her father to acknowledge her, but ensure she would be on the same team as Naruto-kun. But her hopes depended on Naruto continuing to fail in the eyes of the academy. Hinata couldn't stand to see the world put Naruto down. He continued to persevere when lesser people, like Hinata, would have given up long ago. Konoha should admire Naruto. The village should respect the hard work and hopes of someone willing to pull themselves from the gutters to the heights of power, especially when their drive was out of selflessness. Naruto deserved so much better. Hinata shook off her melancholy as she entered the classroom. Morning, Hinata, Naruto said as he leaned back in his chair. Hinata felt the words catch in her throat. Naruto had not arrived early for class since the first days of the first year. Gee, good morning, Naruto-kun. Hinata finally forced out and took her usual seat. Naruto had claimed the seat next to hers. Hinata felt her hopes rise as fast as her blush. I hope Irika-sensei is the one to take up our homework, Naruto said after an exaggerated yawn that caused Hinata to giggle. Why is that, Naruto-kun? Hinata kept her eyes fixated on the desk. Mizuki-sensei loses my homework occasionally. It's annoying. If I'm going to take time away from training to do the homework, I want to get credit for it, Naruto grunted out. But I did do yesterday's homework. I promise, he quickly added. The rest of the class started filtering in, and slowly Naruto and Hinata's conversation slipped away. Irika, much to Naruto's outspoken relief and Hinata's amusement, collected the homework assignment. After reprimanding Naruto for his outburst, Mizuki-sensei began the lesson on the shinobi rules. Hinata would occasionally cast a quick glance at Naruto. She was surprised to discover that Naruto was paying attention. He wasn't taking notes, though. Instead, Naruto looked as if he had swallowed something incredibly bitter. Naruto didn't even bother writing down the homework assignment. Mizuki-sensei dismissed the class, but Naruto sat quietly for a moment. The Hyuga were renowned for their observational prowess, but Hinata found it difficult to read Naruto. Was he annoyed at a boring lesson? Or was it something deeper? Did he have a philosophical disagreement with the shinobi rules? Naruto had never struck Hinata as one to think philosophically. Hey Hinata, want to come with me to Ichiraku's? Naruto's question shook Hinata out of her silent observations. See, can we make it in time? We only have 30 minutes for lunch. Hinata was thrilled that Naruto was inviting her to lunch. Maybe yesterday wasn't a fluke. Not if we stand around here. Naruto held out his hand. Come on, we've only got one shot at today. Let's not have any regrets. Naruto knew that because time travel existed he had technically lied. However, it was a comforting lie for Hinata's sake, and a lie he himself desperately wanted to believe. I don't want to drown in my regrets like Namikaze does. Hinata tentatively took Naruto's hand. And no regrets, Naruto-kun. Namikaze entered the rundown tavern and walked to the bar. Erosenin had taught Naruto a great deal about espionage and information gathering during their 3-year training journey. You can know all the jutsu in the world, but if you can't find your quarry, you can't bring them back. That was not to say Jiraiya hadn't improved Naruto's jutsu repertoire. The Toad Sage had vastly improved Naruto's chakra control. At the beginning of the 3-year journey, Naruto couldn't perform even the most basic Jinjutsu. When Naruto returned to Konoha, he actually wasn't bad with Jinjutsu. He could make use of them in combat, but his primary opponents possessed the Sharingan and rendered any Jinjutsu moot. However, most of the training had been geared towards making sure Naruto would advance quickly towards his ultimate goal of becoming Hokage. Naruto had asked Jiraiya why equal time was given to politics, battlefield tactics, and etiquette as jutsus and taijutsu. You aren't ending up like them, Naruto. I won't let you lose sight of your dreams. Sasuke and Orochimaru lost sight of their dreams and forfeited their future. I'll be damned if I let that happen to you. Namikaze sighed in a combination of melancholy that swept over him as he remembered his beloved teacher and annoyance that he was being ignored by the bartender. Oi! Who does a guy have to kill to get some service around here? Namikaze growled. The bartender finally made his way to Naruto. He leaned in close and, with Hinata's Byakugan active behind the bandages, saw the man grin. Mean that literally? 'Cause some folks round here might make some offers. A man's got to earn a living, Namikaze said simply. Ah, you're one of dem wandering freelance types. The older man cackled. That's right, Namikaze answered while desperately trying to avoid breathing through his nose. Well, couple of us need a right arsehole taken out. Calls himself the Demon of the Mist, and has a pretty little girl Fayoing him around. Last we heard he's up in Mizuho. The owner of the tavern wiped his hands on his grubby gray jacket. Poor Haku, being mistaken for a girl seems to be more common than I thought. Mizuho, you say? You can't hear on top of being blind? The old man waved his hand dismissively. You've got a spot right above your pocket. The dark soy sauce is really noticeable. Namikaze flashed a cheeky grin and rose from the bar. Son, I know we've got a decent bounty on that demon, but you can't seriously be going after him, can ye? Nah, I'm just going to take a look. See how scary this demon and his partner really are. Naruto stopped in the doorway. The smile hadn't faded since he got off his stool. Speaking of Zabuza's partner, it's a guy. There's no way anyone that pretty can be a man. Don't feel bad. I made the same mistake the first time I ran into them. Namikaze laughed at the memory. Haku, Zabuza. I'll see you soon. Hinata was breathing heavily as she ran behind Naruto. The pace wasn't strenuous enough to cause her to be winded. No, her breathless state was because Naruto hadn't let go of her hand since they left the Ichiraku stand. I told you not to worry, Hinata. We've got 4 minutes before the bell. Naruto shouted as he guided Hinata through a path in the woods behind the academy. I trust you, Naruto-kun. Hinata couldn't help but smile. Naruto's enthusiasm was contagious. She would never admit it to anyone other than Naruto, but sneaking out of the academy for lunch had been thrilling. The conversation at lunch had been wonderful. I don't know if it was a conversation. Naruto-kun did most of the talking, but we learned something about each other. It was almost like we were real friends. Hinata confided in herself. In her heart, she wished her budding relationship with Naruto was actually a budding relationship. She contented herself with the knowledge that Naruto was now acknowledging her existence. Thanks. Naruto and Hinata entered the academy and entered the classroom at a sedate pace. 2 minutes to spare. Didn't I promise we'd get back in time? You certainly have it down to an art form. The heiress slid into her chair. Art form. Naruto rolled the word around on his tongue. I like that. You're a genius, Hinata. I'm not sure sneaking out of the academy without permission can be called an art form. Irika shouted from behind the 2 students. Hinata practically bolted from her skin. Naruto, for his part, simply laughed at his exacerbated and favorite teacher. Oh come on, Irika-sensei. 1. We're the first ones back. 2. You never saw us leave. Irika pinched the bridge of his nose. Please stay out of trouble. The last thing I need is to anger the Hyuga clan. Well, we'll try. But you know how bad an influence Hinata is on me. The blonde troublemaker chuckled. And Naruto-kun. I am not that bad of an influence. Hinata sputtered. See? She doesn't even deny it. Naruto poured a full pound of false innocence into his voice. Hinata could only stare at Naruto, in shock for once. Iruka ceased pinching his nose, and now covered his face with his hand. You are karma. I swear that you are punishment from heaven for all my childhood sins. The teacher wandered off, and after a few minutes started the next lesson. Hinata turned all her focus into taking notes, and away from Naruto's earlier teasing. Naruto zoned out the first part Iruka's lesson on the economic crisis that followed the Second Great Shinobi War. However, when Iruka-sensei began talking about how some guilds had been accused of using the shortages of food and medicine to become fabulously wealthy, Naruto became utterly focused. This is what Namikaze was warning me about. How can you hoard and overcharge for food when people are dying in the streets? Naruto was grateful when Mizuki-sensei announced they were heading to the ranged weapons range. He didn't think he could swallow back his growing anger. As the class made their way through the halls, Naruto noticed two things. First, the blonde noticed Shikamaru, Kiba, and Choji had discreetly rejoined the class. Naruto was usually arguing with Kiba about who would get the highest score on the range now. It was strange that Naruto didn't really miss sitting around and bragging about future glories. What future glories? Namikaze only told me about suffering betrayals and watching my girlfriend die. That dark thought led Naruto to his second observation. Hinata hadn't spoken to him or tried to sneak those little glances at him since lunch. Hey Hinata-chan, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings early. I shouldn't have teased you. Naruto apologized. He called me Hinata-chan. Hinata did not realize she had stopped walking until someone ran into her back. What is your problem, Hyuga? The harsh voice of Uchiha Sasuke drove away Hinata's pleasant reverie. I'm sorry. Hinata yelped as she jumped away from the Rookie of the Year. You were trying to feel up Sasuke-kun, weren't you? Sakura yelled at Hinata. No. I've never liked Sasuke-san. Hinata wilted a bit under Sakura and Ino's harsh glares. Before the other girls could accuse her of lying, Hinata practically tripped over herself to catch up to Naruto. Sorry about that, Naruto-kun. Naruto waved off Hinata's apology. I'm the one who is saying he's sorry here. You didn't tease me earlier. Like I said, I shouldn't have done that. And I'm sorry, again, if calling you Hinata-chan made you uncomfortable. No, I really like that. Hinata nearly shouted in her excitement. Her hands started pressing together when the snickering from the other students started. And then I know you weren't trying to be cruel. I know you were joking, Naruto-kun. The blonde nearly repeated Hinata's early action and stopped in the middle of the milling mass of students. A similar, if far more earth-shattering realization was beginning to coalesce in Naruto's mind. Is it her? Hey Hinata-chan, Naruto's voice was as quiet as Hinata had ever heard. Do I what? Hinata crinkled her brow in confusion. Do you love me? Naruto caught himself before he asked that foolish question. Do you have any tips for target practice? I should be asking you that. My clan rarely uses shuriken or kunai. Our ranged attacks are almost exclusively variants of juken, Hinata confessed. That's actually pretty cool. The young Jinchuriki shouted, drawing even more attention to the pair. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto noticed how the light seemed to dance in Hinata's eyes. This is so much better than getting clobbered by Sakura. Gah. I wish Namikaze was still here, or at least told me how to contact him. I guess I'll have to talk to that Yamato guy. He'll probably be watching out for me after that rude mess last night. Hey, Hinata-chan, watch me kick Sasuke's butt. Naruto shouted to push the thoughts of Namikaze and last night's trauma from his mind. In this moment, the gathering shadows could not touch Naruto. He felt the closest to peace he had felt since Namikaze had torn down Naruto's childhood. Shimura Danzo stood in front of his former teammate and bitter rival's desk. The Hokage had summoned Danzo without explanation or preamble. Hiruzen puffed on his pipe while wearing the full regalia of his position. There was no subtlety in the posturing. Danzo was being reminded of his place in the hierarchy of Konoha. You are coming dangerously close to overstepping the bounds of our agreement, Hiruzen said finally. This meeting had none of the usual false camaraderie. Neither elder exchanged quips about how old age was catching up to them. Am I Hiruzen? Shimura asked without emotion. Do not play coy. I am aware there are former root operatives that still place their loyalty to you above their loyalty to Konoha. There was an attempt to seize Uzumaki Naruto last night. One of my A and B prevented the attempt. Sortobi slammed his fist on the desk, scattering a stack of papers. There is no loyalty above or below loyalty to Konoha. All who I trained in A and BU placed aside their entire being to better serve Konoha. Danzo rasped. I am the third Hokage. I am the embodiment of Konoha, the Hokage shouted. If you attempt to use your stolen eye, I will kill you before you can raise your arm, Danzo. So you do know. Danzo allowed himself a rare half-smile. He despised his former teammate, but he was glad to see there was still some steel in Hiruzen's spine. The second Raikage did not name me the god of shinobi on a whim. The Hokage rose from his chair and rolled his neck. I am giving you an ultimatum. Keep your instruments in line. If they act within the walls of Konoha again, I will personally execute you for treason. I believe you have reminded me of the status quo, Hokage-sama. If I have no orders on how to serve my village, I will ask to be dismissed. The elder poured honeyed contempt into his voice. Do you know what separates you from the source of your eye? The Hokage growled. I am aware of several. The Uchiha's only mistake is that they plotted in the open, Hiruzen said darkly. A tree struck by lightning can survive the loss of the leaves that bathe in the light so long as the roots that bathe in shadows survive. Danzo countered. Go, bathe in your shadows. Remember, old friend. If you overreach again, I will not hesitate like I did with the Uchiha. The Hokage spoke with every ounce of authority he possessed. Good. Naruto and Hinata stood against the back wall to avoid the gaggle of would-be kunoichi following Sasuke. As usual, the last loyal Uchiha didn't spare anyone a glance. Hey, Hinata-chan. I've got a couple of questions, Naruto said when only Hinata, Shikamaru, Iruka-sensei, and Naruto himself remained in the classroom. What is it, Naruto-kun? Hinata answered, proud of her growing confidence around her idol. First, what the heck do all the other girls see in Sasuke? I mean, he's never going to talk to any of them. Naruto pouted a bit. I think they don't really like Sasuke-san. It's the fantasy they've attached to Sasuke-san that all of the girls like, Hinata explained. Not all the girls. You don't seem to chase after him, Naruto pointed out. Just asking, but what kind of guy, do you like? Hinata instantly started pushing her fingers together. The simple action helped steady her racing heart. Oh no, I like someone warm. Huh? I don't know if liking someone with a fever is a good idea, but I guess you want to be a medic. Naruto chewed over the words. It did kind of make sense that Hinata would want to be a medic. Heck, she'd make an awesome one. I meant someone with a warm personality, Naruto-kun. As someone friendly and open. Hinata corrected Naruto after giggling. He could be oblivious at times, but he was so earnest and kind. Hinata admitted to herself that Naruto's former obliviousness used to hurt a bit. He was finally noticing her, and Hinata couldn't stop thinking how wonderful the past few days had been. Oh! Naruto felt a bit embarrassed that he misunderstood Hinata so badly. So, pretty much the opposite of Sasuke and those clan types. Pretty much. Was that the second question, Naruto-kun, or was there something else? Hinata fidgeted in place. I was going to train some. Gotta work on my chakra control. Want to come with me? The Hyuga heiress smiled. Naruto seemed to be desperate to make up for lost time, but Hinata would never complain. I would love to. What have you been working on, Naruto-kun? Oh, a friend of mine showed me this super cool chakra control exercise. I can walk up trees and walls and stuff without using my hands. Naruto bounced as he explained the exercise. The blonde boy deliberately became more animated as he spoke to distract Hinata from his near slip. Nam? Namikaze? It had to have been. He said Naruto was his past and future, of course he would help. Hinata thought. She had a feeling Naruto didn't want the world to know about Namikaze for some reason. So she let the slip slide. Have you tried water walking? We can walk on water? Naruto asked, somewhat surprised by Hinata's question. Guess that sounds good. Heck, it sounds great. Lead the way. Whose truth will you believe in? The 6 paths of pain asked in a single voice. Nagato had summoned the 2 members of Akatsuki he felt were the most likely to turn against Madara. Their reactions were telling. Uchiha Itachi stood as impassively as ever. Emotionally, he was a blank slate. There was no outward sign of his approval or disapproval of Pain's proposition. Itachi was, in many ways, the perfect ninja. He rarely allowed any emotional cures to surface. Nagato, however, knew exactly where Itachi's loyalties lay. Uchiha Itachi had deactivated his Sharingan. Nagato had never seen the Uchiha prodigy without his dojutsu active. I had thought that I had left the world of lies behind me. I believed in the vision of a world of truth. Every time I place my faith in anything, the foundation rots away. The second Akatsuki member lamented. Hoshigaki Kisame was an enormous question mark. Madara had convinced Kisame years ago to believe in his Eye of the Moon. Nagato had summoned Kisame and Itachi to convince Kisame to renounce Madara. Pain racked the shark summoner. Truth comes from within, Kisame. It is revealed through pain. You have experienced true pain. Madara knows only ambition and the desire for domination. We have suffered, and through our suffering we have been granted the noblest of gifts. What is noble about us? I slaughtered my comrades to complete a mission. Itachi slaughtered his entire clan. Leader, you butchered everyone connected to Hanzo. Tendo stepped forward. As I said, Kisame, our pain has opened our eyes to the world. We are the only ones who can see clearly. We are the only ones capable of finding truth. The masses, the comfortable masses, have no reason to search for truth. As long as their empty comfort remains, they will gladly ignore the pain of their neighbor. They have no need for truth. They are blind. Kisame spat out the words in disgust. We shall make them see. Madara will never allow any truth but his own. Pain fought the urge to smile. Convincing Kisame was a major victory and a potentially devastating blow to Madara. Leader. Itachi's voice was soft, but cut through the temporary silence like a blade. Speak, Itachi. The closest path, Ashura, responded to the rogue Uchiha. What of the Biju? Itachi allows a whisper of curiosity to enter his voice. Our previous path led to ruination. The Deva path spoke again. Ruination? We haven't collected a single tail beast. Kisame eyed the paths of pain and Konan curiously. It is time I shared a facet of truth. The voice was different from the paths of pain and accompanied by the straining of gears and metal impacting on metal. Nagato emerged from the shadows and initiated Kisame and Itachi into Nagato and Naruto's truth. Hinata activated her Byakugan to help Naruto with the water walking exercise. She was pleasantly surprised by how much control Naruto actually had. Last term, he struggled with the simple exercises the academy had taught everyone. Hinata realized that struggled wasn't the right word. Naruto had done the exercise well. In fact, he mastered it as quickly as most of the class. Only Sasuke, Sakura, Ino and Hinata had mastered the exercise notably quicker. The exercises actually did help Naruto-kun. Hinata thought as she watched Naruto slosh his way to shore. Naruto-kun just has so much chakra that simple exercises can't help him enough. Man, Hinata-chan, I'm really jealous of how good you are at this, Naruto said enthusiastically as he tried to shake his hair dry. Ano, I've been working on exercises like this since I could walk, Hinata confessed shyly. She didn't want to make Naruto feel inferior, so she quickly added, but you've made incredible progress in one day. Thanks, Hinata-chan, Naruto shouted. Hinata instinctively looked away when Naruto removed his shirt. Her Byakugan was still active, and she couldn't help but notice Naruto wringing out his soaked t-shirt. So where am I screwing up? Why you aren't screwing up? You just have so much chakra. I've never seen anyone with as much chakra as you have, Naruto-kun. Huh? I'm not sure I follow, Naruto asked as he sat on the bank of the pond. He suddenly felt a twist in his gut. The Jinchuriki wasn't sure if it was worry due to the Kyuubi or by the Kyuubi. Don't bring up my seal. Please don't bring up my seal, Naruto thought in a panic. He wasn't ready to reveal the existence of the Kyuubi to Hinata yet. The boy wanted to. No, he needed to, but he was deathly afraid of driving away his most precious person. The blonde swallowed back a sigh. Naruto had not given much thought to his prisoner since Namikaze, and the Hokage had informed him of the demon fox. Truthfully, Naruto didn't want to think of the monster in his gut. The greatest pain Naruto had consistently known was the pain of never being acknowledged. It may be petty, but Naruto knew it was the only way to strike at the source of his misery. Hinata walked silently towards the shore. She wasn't entirely sure how to approach the subject with Naruto. The last thing Hinata wished was to make Naruto feel uncomfortable or, worse, inferior. Hinata's fondest wish was to help Naruto a mere fraction of the amount he helped her daily. Hinata sat gracefully beside Naruto. Her face was flushed at her perceived boldness. Do you remember last year's flood? Yeah, I remember it. There hasn't been a flood like that in a generation. Well, at least according to Hokage Ajisen. Naruto answered Hinata, even if he wasn't sure what she meant. Why, your chakra is like the flood. It is so powerful and plentiful that it is hard to contain or control. Most people are a stream. They will never match the amount or power of your chakra, but they will be able to control their chakra easier. Hinata whispered. Even without her Byakugan, she could see understanding dawning on Naruto. I'm just a trickle. I will never have your power or endurance. All I will have is control. I think I get most of it. Naruto nodded. There's one thing I don't get though. I'm sorry if I explained everything so poorly. Hinata apologized quickly. You're awesome. Hinata's head shot up at Naruto's simple declaration. No one had ever called her awesome before. I mean, you've got the best chakra control I've ever seen. You're really nice. You've got the Byakugan. Hinata had managed to push aside her nervousness while trying to explain just how powerful Naruto was. Unfortunately, Naruto's rattling off a list of Hinata's traits was almost too much. No one had spoken so positively about Hinata in years. Hinata struggled to control her breathing as Naruto reached the 9th personality trait on his impromptu list. His words were blurring together in Hinata's mind. You even like ramen. You're really cute and patient. Naruto took a deep breath before he could continue his onslaught of positivity. Hinata was shaking and on the verge of tears. I've worked myself to the brink sparing Yamato. This is a happy dream brought on by exhaustion. What I'm trying to say, Hinata-chan, is I don't understand how you can put yourself down. I'm weak, Hinata said simply. Her mind was still reeling from the unexpected and tad excessive positive reinforcement. Hell no you aren't, Naruto said forcefully. Hinata gulped. The tone Naruto used blindsided her. He sounded offended by Hinata's low opinion of herself. Please don't be angry. Please don't push me away. I do not meet the standards of my clan. I can't even beat Hanabi-chan in spars. She's 7. But I've seen you spar in the academy. None of the other girls can even land a hit. Naruto was confused. He flinched when he saw the distress in Hinata's eyes. I just can't fight her, even in spars. She Hanabi-chan reminds me of mother. Oh! Naruto didn't know how to respond. The closest people Naruto had to family was Irika-sensei, the Hokage, Tsuchi and Ayam, and Namikaze. He had trouble relating to family issues. But you would never intentionally hurt her. Of course not. Hinata chewed her lip. But Jukin. I'll admit I don't know much about your clan style. It is secret and stuff. But like I said earlier, you've got crazy awesome chakra control. I know you can spar and beat your little sister without hurting her. Naruto couldn't stand to see his best friend so down. Unfortunately, Naruto's knowledge of the Hyuga's gentle fist style was limited to the facts that it used chakra and was anything but gentle. His advice could only be simple platitudes and encouragement. Hinata sat silently for a full minute, and Naruto was horrified that he had said something wrong. Please don't be angry. Please don't push me away. Naruto thought in a panic. Why do you believe in me like this, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked as she wiped away a few stray tears. Because someone has to, Hinata-chan. Namikaze balanced at the apex of a pine tree. The time traveler could feel the nature chakra swirling within his being and achieve the right balance. Namikaze took a deep breath as he extended his ability to sense chakra outwards. He searched for the most powerful chakra signatures he could find. It was highly unlikely that the small hamlet of Mizuho was hiding anyone who could rival Momochi Zabuza or Haku. Shit! I found Haku and Zabuza, but what is that other chakra source? Namikaze grumbled before calling upon the memories buried in Hinata's eyes. Byakugan. Namikaze's vision expanded for miles. The entire world was laid bare. A couple was watching their child play while waiting for dinner. Miles away, a farmer was guiding a stubborn ox into a well-cared-for barn. Namikaze's objectives were sitting in the local inn. And at the very edge of his vision, he saw 6 masked ninja approaching the village. Namikaze couldn't confirm who the ninja were, but he had an inkling. Time to take a risk. Namikaze leapt from the tree and strolled into the village. The vast majority of humanity was utterly incapable of wielding chakra, much less molding the combination of spiritual and physical power. but the human mind had an instinctive ability to recognize sheer power. And Namikaze was radiating power. Crowds parted in a mix of fear, awe, and respect. It was far different than the reactions Namikaze experienced as a youth in Konoha. He pushed aside the memories of a future and past that would never happen and entered the inn. A smile found its way to Namikaze's lips. Zabuza was counting a stack of Rio notes a man had just handed over. The mystery man left without a word, but not without a nervous glance at Zabuza's legendary blade. Haku was daintily sipping at a drink. I'm really going to have to talk to him about that. Namikaze swallowed a chuckle and approached the two missing nin. I hope you have a good reason for getting so close. Zabuza growled, but didn't turn around. Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the hidden mist, the blonde said warmly. He nodded at Haku. And Haku, wielder of the Hayaton. That got Zabuza's attention, and he finally turned around. You do realize I'm going to have to kill you. Namikaze shrugged. He saw Haku stand up. You can try later. It seems Kiri's hunter nins have managed to track you. There are 6 approaching from the northeast. You're an arrogant one to think that you only need 6 hunters as backup to beat me. Zabuza flashed through a series of hand seals. The civilians had long since fled from the inn. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Byakugan. Namikaze said after flashing through his own hand seals. I'm not here to fight either of you. We cannot allow you to reveal our secrets, Hyuga-san. Haku said from a position behind Namikaze. First off, I'm no more Hyuga than you are a girl. Second, why would I fight someone who shares the same enemy? Zabuza swung his fearsome blade aiming to take the interloper's head off. His shock hung in the air like the unnatural mist when the fabled executioner's blade was blocked by a simple kunai. I know who was responsible for the bloodline purges. I know who was controlling Yagura. Namikaze didn't shout or show fear. Instead, he was conversing calmly with both Zabuza and Haku. What the hell are you talking about? Momochi grimaced behind his bandages. I'll explain everything as soon as we take care of those hunter nins. Namikaze promised. Fine, I'll kill you later. Zabuza ceased straining against Namikaze's nature chakra enhanced strength. Let's take it outside. I like this little shithole. Come on, Haku. The 3 ninja exited the inn and took positions. Haku leapt onto the roof after fixing his false hunter nin mask into place. It was when Haku cast one last glance at Zabuza-sama and the mysterious non-Hyuga that he noticed something was amiss. One of the scrolls actually seemed to be shrouded with a thin haze of chakra. Is he leading the hunter nin to us? I should have incapacitated him the moment he arrived. Haku grimaced while taking his position. Who are you? The feminine boy could not bring himself to trust the Byakugan wielder, but strangely could not bring himself to hate him either. Why are you so familiar? Naruto walked towards the center of Konoha with Hinata in what appeared to be a comfortable silence. It was true that the 2 academy students were becoming very comfortable in each other's presence. This comfort allowed them the ability to reflect on the turmoil the comfort had ironically unleashed. Naruto, for his part, was now almost certainly convinced that the woman Namikaze constantly spoke of was Hinata. Namikaze's eyes were Hinata's once. Naruto recoiled at the thought. Naruto received a new, and terrible, clarity regarding the nightmare that tortured him the night before Namikaze's arrival. That was Hinata. I have watched her die. Twice. In that moment, Naruto swore there would never be a third. The Hyuga heiress still had trouble believing the past few days were anything but a dream. She had spent as much time with Naruto as she could manage. Hinata had seemingly absorbed some of the confidence that radiated off Naruto. Her Juken tutors had recently commented that perhaps Hinata was not as hopeless as they feared. I can continue to change. Naruto-kun has shown me that it is possible. I will win my next match. For him. Hinata closed her eyes and laughed as Naruto's stomach growled. You are hopeless. This is the second time. Hinata's eyes shot open the second she felt the impact. She had run into Sasuke as she rounded the corner. Don't talk about Hinata-chan like that, you bastard. Naruto shouted at the Uchiha survivor. I'm sorry, Hinata whispered. She looked to Naruto and saw his indignant glare at his rival. The Hyuga felt a comforting warmth at the realization that the anger was not due to her, but for her. I didn't see you. I thought your clan bragged about their all-seeing eyes. Sasuke grunted. And my Byakugan is not active all the time, Sasuke-san. Hinata confessed quietly. Naruto took a step closer to Hinata. At least she can activate hers. What did you say, you worthless trash? The last Uchiha roared. Naruto-kun is not worthless. Hinata shouted at Sasuke. The two boys stared at Hinata for a moment. Naruto eventually broke out in a proud smile. Sasuke's face returned to its natural state of neutral disdain. He is a clanless orphan. I don't see why you even associate with him. The fool is so far below your station that you might as well be wiping him off your sandals. There was something unusual about Sasuke's tone. It took Hinata a long moment to realize that it was confusion. Sasuke genuinely failed to comprehend why Hinata spent time with Naruto. Naruto-kun is my best friend. He is a hard worker, and knows that true success isn't handed to someone because of their name. Hinata defended Naruto from Sasuke. Sasuke turned his glare to Naruto. The two opposites actually smirked at each other. Tension filled the space between them like a gas. A single spark would ignite a fire that would not be extinguished easily. I don't understand you, Hyuga. Every other girl in our class fawns over me. You, for some maddening reason, chose this dead last loser. They all call me Sasuke-kun. Yu-San. Why? Sasuke's tone reminded Hinata of her father Hayashi's coldest tone. Hinata desperately fought the urge to run away. She instinctively reached out and gripped Naruto's hand. The heiress felt her best friend's surprise, but the contact was not rejected. Naruto's presence calmed her soul, and she stood straighter. Why? Because to Naruto-kun, I'm Hinata. With Naruto-kun, I'm not drowning in the expectations of my family. Hinata gained confidence with each breath. Naruto's warm expression became soft. Let's go, Hinata-chan. You'll need a bite to eat before your clan training. Where do you want to go? I'm not sure. There are a few good places on the way home. I'd love to go to Tsutsuji, but I'm not sure Zensai would sit well before a Juken spar. Hinata and Naruto were quickly lost in their own private world. Yeah, Zensai may be the second greatest food in the world, but I wouldn't eat it before a sparring match. Naruto agreed. Why you like Zensai? Hinata questioned excitedly. Sasuke stood forgotten as the pair wandered off. He hated Naruto and Hinata in that moment. They had brushed him off. The clanless loser and the weak-willed Hyuga heiress acted as if Sasuke, the last son of the Konoha's greatest clan, was simply another plebeian. The Uchiha survivor admitted that he was jealous of Hinata and Naruto. They had found a measure of happiness. Everything about the two reminded Sasuke of the golden age before the massacre. Another moment flashed in his mind for a moment. Instead of watching the dead last and the heiress wandering off, he saw his younger self walking with Itachi while laughing happily. There had also been a fleeting moment where Sasuke had truly understood Hinata. They both had drowned in unreachable expectations. Sasuke stormed off into the village and cursed the day he met Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata. Namikaze was holding back. True, he still had 2 minutes left in Sage mode and had finished off one of the Hunter Nin with Wind Release, Wind Cutter, within seconds. He was holding back because he had not used the Rasengan, Wind Release, Rasengan, or any technique that could connect him to Konoha. It was strange, Namikaze thought. His actions were almost like he was ashamed of Konoha. No, that's not true. I'm ashamed of what Konoha has become. Namikaze thought as he used natural energy to extend his reach and knock the second Hunter Nin through the village wall. A third Hunter Nin was going through a series of hand seals. She led with a snake seal and followed it with a horse seal. It's probably a Doton Jutsu. Namikaze quickly threw a brace of shuriken at the Kiri and Bu. There was no way such a basic and obvious diversion would stop the hand seals. Truthfully, it was never meant to. Namikaze was merely aiming to make the hidden miss ninja hesitate for a fraction of a second. The slight hesitation was all Namikaze needed to close the distance and deliver a vicious kick to the woman's temple. There was a wet cracking sound as the woman was thrown several feet by the force of the impact. Zabuza cleaved the final Hunter Nin in half vertically. The Demon of the Mist was now firmly convinced the new guy was one of the most dangerous ninja he had ever encountered. The kid had defeated a Hyuga and taken both Byakugan. That meant the kid had to be smart and fast. The Hyuga Juinjutsu destroyed the white eyes within moments of death. If that had been his only feat, Zabuza would have been just impressed. Impressed couldn't begin to cover Zabuza's shock at the kid's strength. The boy had just obliterated 3 ANBU in the space of a minute. Hell, he had killed his first one before Haku's 1,000 needles of death had even hit the first 100 nin. There are few ninja capable of even matching Haku's speed, but this punk blew Haku out of the water. I think you're going to tell us who the fuck you are and what you want. Momochi spoke in an eerily calm voice. I'm Namikaze and complicated. As for what I want, I'm recruiting for Namikaze began to explain when suddenly Hinata's gift detected a chakra flare from Nagato's scroll. Akatsuki. The outline of the Deva Path of Pain appeared. Brother Naruto, and I seek the aid of powerful ninja to end the threat of Uchiha Madara. I don't mean to sound like I'm not glad to see you, my brother apprentice, but how the hell are you tracking me like this? Namikaze asked as his eyes shifted from the toad-like appearance of Sage Mode to the faintly purple tint of Hinata's Byakugan. The scroll is based on the same principle as another tool I have used. Tendo half explained. Namikaze shrugged his shoulders. As my brother apprentice said, we need help defeating Uchiha Madara. This man is not only my enemy, but Madara is a personal enemy to both of you. Zabuza, Madara was the individual manipulating Yagura. Zabuza stared at Namikaze and the astral projection of Tendo. I will need proof, obviously. I do not mean to intrude, but how is this Uchiha my personal enemy? I have never encountered a Sharingan user before. Haku chewed his lip as he asked the question. If it wasn't for Madara, the cycle of hatred that ensnared your father and led to his madness would have never occurred. Without Madara, you would have been a simple farmer. Namikaze whispered behind closed eyes. How do you know that? I've never told anyone other than Zabuza-sama that story. Who are you? Who are you truly? Haku erupted and drew several saban. You told me the story a long time ago, at least from my perspective. We were on opposite sides of a battle. Moments before, I had watched you use your saban in combination with your demonic ice mirrors to put my comrade in a near-death state. I flew into a rage and forced you to abandon the mirrors. Haku, you shared the source of your pain with me. Unfortunately, the chance to reach an understanding never happened. Moments later, you sacrificed yourself to protect Zabuza. Namikaze recounted the last time he had seen Haku alive. The Hayaton carrier dropped his saban and stared at Namikaze with a strange mix of vindication and terror. The blonde Byakugan wielder took a moment before continuing. Zabuza had been wounded by my Jonin instructor earlier. When Gato, the short bastard who had hired the two of you, arrived, he arrived to betray you. He demeaned Haku's sacrifice and Zabuza's worth as a shinobi. Zabuza's last moments were that of a true shinobi. He died without fear and killed Gato and nearly 100 of his thugs. The two of you had a profound impact on my life. I shaped my entire worldview based on the short period we knew each other. Even if Zabuza managed to find his voice first. What you are saying isn't possible. I've never seen you before. I've never fought you before. And Haku hasn't seen you before. Not in this life, Zabuza-san. Yahiko's body spoke. Naruto and I have defied time itself. And we continue to defy time. There is much more that you must know. Namikaze and Pain told Haku and Zabuza of Danzo's actions and betrayals. The two brother apprentices spoke of the ritual that returned them to the past. Nagato and Namikaze shared the history of their great pains, the original purpose of Akatsuki, and the methods they pursued in the previous timeline. It was only when Nagato, through the astral projection of the Deva Path, revealed Madara's Eye of the Moon plan that Haku spoke. That is not peace. It is the worst form of slavery. This Madara seeks not only to enslave our bodies, but our souls. He would rob us of everything that makes up human. Exactly, Haku. That is why we need your help. Namikaze spoke with undeniable passion. This is just so much to take in. Haku felt his voice break as he spoke. It was not every day you were approached by a man who spoke of how your noble sacrificial death changed their worldview. Beyond destroying Uchiha Madara and achieving some small measure of justice for the hidden mist, why should we help Akatsuki? Zabuza interrogated the astral projection and the madman. The great villages have fallen far from the glory of their promise. Namikaze announced with determination. He paused for a moment before grinning. I'll have to remember that one. It wasn't half bad. Please get to the point. Haku quietly prodded the older man. Oh right. Namikaze scratched the back of his head. After a moment, his face became hard and Zabuza was struck by an image of Namikaze Minato. Is this man the child of the Yellow Flash? It would explain his ungodly chakra capacity and his speed. Our goal is to guide the world to peace. The 5 great villages were created to ensure stability. The first Hokage attempted to create a balance of power through the proliferation of the tailed beasts. His sentiment, while noble, ultimately failed. The intention was correct, but the Shodai Hokage should not have involved the Jinchuriki. Jinchuriki have been reduced to weapons. They are not valued as human beings and have grown to resent humanity. Most Jinchuriki have experienced a pain we know all too well. The unbearable pain of being unwanted. They are a wild card that we must take into consideration. Namake's motioned grandly, but there was an edge to his tone. An edge that could only be created through personal hardship. What are you two getting at? Zabuza was rapidly losing his patience. As soon as Akatsuki cleanses itself of Uchiha Madara and our more unstable elements, we shall recruit the Jinchuriki and seek to cast down the status quo, Pain announced. The cycle of hatred must be broken. The great villages, Konoha, Kirigakure, Iwa, Kumo, Suna, we shall tear them down, brick by brick if necessary. Then, we shall rebuild them while guiding the world into an age of understanding and peace. Namikaze softly declared in the tone of a man willing to die for his dream. Will you stand with us? Will you seek to ensure the dawn of a new era? Yahiko's Renegan narrowed as he gave Zabuza and Haku their one chance. The two powerful missing Nin were silent for a long time. I wish to see the birth of this new world of understanding. Haku finally spoke. If you convinced Haku, I'll go along with it. This is the only way to fulfill my ambitions of reforming Kirigakure. Namikaze bowed his head in thanks. We will do more than fulfill our ambitions, Zabuza. We will save this world from itself. Uchiha Sasuke ignored the collection of fools and fangirls pandering for his attention. His natural posture of quiet disdain was perfectly in place. However, inside the privacy of his mind, he was recalling the past day. Sasuke had spent a good bit of time berating himself for allowing Naruto and Hinata to get under his skin. The day had not been going well prior to the encounter. He had approached the Hokage's tower, as per his monthly routine, and sought information about Itachi's movements and the steps Konoha was taking to bring the monster to justice. Usually, the third would at least give Sasuke a scrap of information and reiterate his stance that any and all Konoha A and BU had orders to eliminate Itachi as a threat in any way possible. Sasuke knew that while Konoha's A and BU were the best in the world, they still weren't on Itachi's level. Complete monster or no, Sasuke's traitor of a brother was still the finest ninja Konoha had ever produced. He could have been Hokage. Sasuke lamented in his mind. Itachi could have been the one. My brother could have been the Uchiha to finally claim what should have been ours from the beginning. This time, Hokage-sama had been unusually short-tempered. Sarutobi had curtly told Sasuke that there were no new developments and that the standing orders had not changed. Then, the Hokage had called his secretary to dismiss Sasuke. His ill mood had not been helped by the Hyuga heiress running into him or Naruto's angry reply to Sasuke. Naruto had really gotten to him with his comment about Sasuke's failure to awaken his Sharingan. Normally, Sasuke would have ignored the loudmouth blonde-haired idiot, but Sasuke had been so focused on Itachi that day. Naruto's words in defense of Hinata were simply another reminder of how far behind Sasuke was falling. Then, Hinata had forced Sasuke to recall the pressures of those precious days when the Uchiha still flourished. The two did not realize how deep their words had unintentionally cut him. He still did not like his two classmates, but on some level, Sasuke could respect them. Of all the students in Sasuke's academy class, Naruto and Hinata were the only ones who seemed to realize the harsh reality that awaited them after graduation. Sasuke would never apologize, but he would show that he harbored them no animosity. I think I'll look into their training methods. Who knows, maybe they'll have something worth adopting. It is a rare day when I initiate a conversation. Uchiha Itachi never diverted his attention from directly ahead. Heh, I guess it is, Kisame grunted. But it's not every day you realize the belief you adopted to free yourself from a world of lies is revealed to be just another lie. The two Akatsuki members walked in silence for several miles. As leader stated, truth comes from within. You must find your own truth, Kisame. The Sharkman looked into the distance. I've lived in a world of lies for so long that I don't really know if I can even recognize truth. Why should I believe leader over Madara? Madara at least had a plan that possessed a concrete end goal. Now, we're aiming to reform the great village system. Is that even possible? It is possible, Itachi answered after another long pause. Do you remember our first conversation, Kisame? I remember. I talked about my nature, and you talked about how you won't know what kind of person you are until the moment you die. The renegade Uchiha turned and nodded at his partner. We did. It is true we only discover our nature at the moment of our deaths, but our lives are the journey that leads to that discovery. Feeling talkative today, huh? Well, Itachi-san, what other life-changing advice do you have? Itachi resumed walking. No. I merely will reiterate what leader told us. That we make our own truth? I told you already. I've been submerged in a world of lies for so long I don't think I know what truth is. Kisame wasn't really speaking to Itachi in that moment. That is why creating your own truth is so vital, Itachi commented evenly. The former swordsman of the mist could not respond. He could only watch Itachi advance with purpose and with conviction. Kisame only advanced in the vain hope that he would discover the truth he so desperately sought. Hinata leaned back and dodged Naruto's somewhat clumsy drop kick. The Hyuga heiress knew that she had much better form than Naruto. However, her crush was a master at using the terrain to gain any possible advantage. Hinata was a martial artist. Her form was precise, measured and beautiful to behold. Naruto fought more like a ninja. His form was not as tight as it could be, but Naruto used the terrain better. The Whiskered Academy student was also not afraid to fight dirty. That did not mean Naruto was using attacks that would hurt Hinata. If this had been a real battle and Hinata a real enemy, Naruto probably would have gone for several crippling blows by this point. Instead, he had discovered a far more insidious way to win the spars. Naruto had discovered that Hinata was ticklish. After 3 such attacks, Hinata had given Naruto a stronger zap on the hand. Two can play at that game. Hinata countered and stuck her tongue out at Naruto. Naruto froze in place and took on a mask of mock outrage. Hinata-sama, I cannot believe you would act in such an undignified manner. I dare say that this behavior is an attempt to have fun. The temporary mask slipped away and Naruto started laughing. Hinata started giggling in spite of herself. Well, Uzumaki-san, contrary to popular belief, the Hyuga have not officially banned having fun. Hinata responded as haughtily as she could. The attempt failed after a few seconds and her smug look was replaced by a happy grin. You should smile like that all the time. Naruto returned the smile. But being serious for a bit, I think we found the right amount of zap to put into your jukin. It's weak enough to not really hurt, but strong enough to where you definitely feel it. I have a spar with Hitaka-san later today. I think that will be a good match to try things out. Naruto nodded and flopped down. Nay, Hinata-chan. I've got a question about your clan. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask for any secret techniques or anything. What is it, Naruto-kun? I've heard you talk about main family and branch family a lot. Aren't clans supposed to be one big family? Naruto asked. Hinata frowned and looked away. Naruto started sputtering apologizes, but Hinata silenced him by sitting next to him. The Hyuga are very protective of our bloodline. We have divided the clan into 2 branches. The main branch guides the Hyuga, and the branch protects the clan. It doesn't sound like you really believe or agree with all that. Naruto watched as Hinata chewed her lip. The branch members are all sealed. The main family can activate the seal to inflict great pain on branch members. The seal also destroys the Byakugan at death to prevent anyone from learning our secrets. Hinata continued, but couldn't look Naruto in the eye. She was simply reciting what she had been taught. After finishing, she paused for a long time. Hinata gasped as she felt a sudden pressure on her shoulder. Hinata-chan, I promise that I won't tell anyone your clans or your secrets. I promise that you can trust me, Naruto assured Hinata. I hate it. The main branch we enslave our own family. Why? The heiress wanted to shout about the injustices she witnessed every day, but faltered. Instead, it was a whisper. You'll end it. Hinata-chan, you'll free your family. And you know what, I'll help you. Naruto swore. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I should get back to the compound. Hinata tried to compose herself. She rose to her feet. Show them how awesome you are, Hinata-chan. Naruto beamed. I will for both of us. The Hyuga heiress then acted on impulse. She hugged Naruto. It was a quick and light hug. For Hinata, it was an incredibly bold act. For Naruto, it was confirmation. Hinata broke the hug and was bright red. Naruto, for the first time, nearly matched Hinata's hue. See you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. Naruto knew he had to speak with Yamato about this. I defy time itself for her. I'd do it again without hesitation. Namikaze was leading Haku and Zabuza to the rendezvous point Pain had arranged. It felt good to have Zabuza and Haku on the right side. Namikaze couldn't help but feel confident that the horror he experienced before Nagato, Yamato, and the great old geezer sent him back would never happen. Namikaze's personal tragedies would not be the only tragedies prevented. Deidara would never be able to take out Gaara. He would be safe. The Jinchuriki smiled as he realized that he and Gaara weren't the only Jinchuriki the new Akatsuki would save. Utakata and the others would be safe as well. I'm excited that I'll get the chance to meet them. Maybe I can convince them to join us? We Jinchuriki know the value of bonds better than anyone because they are so rare and precious to us. What was it like, Namikaze-san? Haku broke the silence with his question. It can be a lot of things, Haku. What do you want to know? Namikaze responded to the vague question. What was it like to travel through time? What is it like to have a second chance? The last ice release wielder asked. Strangely, I didn't feel it work at all. 1 minute, I'm in the future and the next, I'm in the past. But having a second chance, I'm thankful for it. I'm going to make sure that everyone who deserves a second chance gets one. That's why I sought you and Zabuza out. You both deserve one. The sage responded. I thank you for your faith in Zabuza-sama and myself. Haku smiled as he leapt to another branch. Namikaze, I need to know what we are walking into. Zabuza interrupted. The time traveler stopped on a large branch and gathered nature chakra. A moment later, he had re-entered Sage mode and activated Hinata's Byakugan. The area is clear. It looks like we've arrived ahead of Nagato and Iasan's agents. Can we trust these guys? Zabuza could not accept Namikaze as quickly as Haku had. Namikaze turned to the demon of the hidden mist and smiled. Nagato and Iasan assured me that the 2 agents he is sending to meet with us are against Madara. The trio waited in silence for the Akatsuki representatives to arrive. Momochi Zabuza was still unsure why he decided to follow Namikaze. The boy had undeniable charisma and knew exactly what to say to draw Zabuza in. Strangely, Haku had quickly and completely bought into Namikaze and Pain's vision of the future. Zabuza focused on how at peace Namikaze seemed. How could a man preaching revolution, a revolution that would undoubtedly become violent, have such inner peace? Conviction. Namikaze and Pain are utterly convinced they know the path the world should take. I can admire them for that. I just don't know if I can trust them. Momochi simply observed the mysterious Namikaze for a time. The younger man meditated with his Byakugan and his strange sage mode active. It was near impossible to get a read on Namikaze. There was only one thing for certain. No one had ever had a more accurate name. Namikaze was certainly going to cause waves with his actions. This man is going to change the world. Our contacts are here. Namikaze opened his eyes and stood up. Haku nodded and Zabuza grunted. The executioner's blade immediately found its way to Zabuza's hands. You? The demon of the hidden mist roared at the approaching Akatsuki members. Would you look at this? I never expected to see you again, Zabuza. The monster of the hidden mist replied with a toothy grin. Kisame, you bastard. How could you sell us out to the Mizukage like that? Yagura was going to destroy Kirigakure. Zabuza did not lower his voice or his blade. I was loyal to my oaths. Kisame shot back. Zabuza prepared to lash out. And I was loyal to Kirigakure itself. Kisame readied Samahata. The 2 former swordsmen of the hidden mist were coiled and prepared to strike when the second Akatsuki member stepped between them. We are not enemies. Our sole enemy is Uchiha Madara. The word seemed to calm Kisame. The demon of the hidden mist was about to snap off a reply when he saw the quiet man's eyes. The eyes were cold. They were the eyes of a man who had killed without emotion and would do so again. Who are you, kid? Momochi needed to know this man's name. The Akatsuki member closed his eyes. Instinctively, Zabuza entered a defensive stance when the eyes opened. In the place of the black void was the legendary Sharingan, Uchiha Itachi. Naruto had walked Hinata halfway back to her compound. He didn't want his reputation as Konoha's social pariah to get Hinata in trouble. So far, Naruto's new friendship with Hinata was the only good thing to come from Namake's arrival. Everything else was so confusing or earth-shattering that Naruto could barely comprehend them. I need to talk to Yamato. Naruto sighed as he headed towards Ichiraku. Teuchi greeted Naruto as warmly as ever, and the two talked about how Naruto was doing in the academy. The Ichiraku ramen stand was a comfort for Naruto. There was no time travel, no troubles with the academy, no rivalry with Sasuke or confusing thoughts about Hinata and the path of Naruto's life. Here, Naruto was simply Naruto. I need to bring Hinata-chan here soon, Naruto thought as he finished his bowl. Awesome as always, old man Teuchi, Naruto shouted as he paid. Thank you, Naruto. I'll see you tomorrow, Teuchi responded as Naruto took off. Naruto was feeling much better following the meal and his casual talk with Teuchi. As he slipped back into a state of comfortably enforced ignorance, he slowed down. Okay, when I get home, I need to practice with my shuriken, chakra control, water my plants. Naruto started listing off everything he needed to do at home. I love the shadow clone technique. The happy thought was interrupted when Naruto ran into something. This seriously has to stop. Naruto instantly recognized Sasuke's voice. Then maybe you should quit stalking me, the Jinchuriki shot back. Sasuke glared back at Naruto for a moment before scoffing and changing his expression. You've changed. Huh? Naruto asked dumbly. You've changed. Naruto, you are still dead last, but something's off. I haven't seen you shooting off your mouth quite as much. And that's before you decided to use Hinata as a fallback girl. Sasuke listed off the changes he noticed in Naruto. It was apparent that the self-assuredness in Sasuke's voice had been toned down. The last loyal Uchiha was trying his hardest not to sound condescending. Unfortunately, he failed in his attempt. Two things. First and most important, I may not know what a fallback girl is, but I won't let you talk about Hinata-chan that way. Second, I actually realize how dangerous the world out there is. Sasuke smirked at Naruto's declaration. It was good to see that someone got it. Looks like you actually like Hinata. Never thought you'd notice. Yeah, Naruto started thinking and realized that, yes, he was starting to like Hinata. Heck, he'd like Hinata even if she wasn't the woman in the future who declared her love for him and defended him against a powerful enemy. What kind of training have you been doing? The Uchiha decided to speak as Naruto's wistful look was making him uncomfortable. Oh! Naruto snapped out of his reverie. Mostly chakra control. If I had better chakra control, I'd probably be a full Genin by now. Sasuke nodded. It irked him to admit, but Naruto was right. The only reason Naruto was dead last is because he completely zoned out during the academic portions of the academy. The exercises the academy taught haven't helped you much. Well, according to Irika and some other teachers, I've had Naruto wasn't about to reveal Yamato or Namake's to Sasuke. I have a ton of chakra. So, I need more hardcore exercises. What kind of exercises? Sasuke was intrigued in spite of himself. A wave of triumph washed over Naruto. Today was great. Earlier, he had helped Hinata save her position in her clan. Now, Naruto not only forced Sasuke to acknowledge him, but had actually surpassed him in something. I'll show you, but you'll have to teach me something in exchange. What do you want to know? Sasuke was willing to deal with Naruto. Anything to advance one step closer to Itachi. You have to teach me that shuriken trick you pull. The Whiskered Academy student bargained with the Uchiha. Sasuke doubted Naruto realized he was giving something far more valuable in exchange for simple advice on throwing shuriken. However, Sasuke thought about the kind of person Naruto was. The loudmouth was always in a good mood and offering to help his classmates. He had an effect on people. Naruto's enthusiasm either drove people, like Sakura or Ami, away or drew people, like Hinata, to him. Sasuke viewed him as a curiosity. It would be enlightening to see where Sasuke's opinion of the loudmouth eventually fell. I guess we have a deal then. As Itachi-senpai said, our enemy is Uchiha Madara. He was the one manipulating the fourth Mizukage. Madara is also behind many other injustices. Namikaze spoke in support of Itachi. Madara exists to maintain the cycle of hate. Wait, I recognize that name now. Are you trying to tell us that our enemy is the man who fought the Shodai Hokage at the Valley of the End? That's impossible. He'd be over a century old. Zabuza was now convinced Namikaze was crazy. Madara's survival is not impossible. I have encountered him personally. Itachi sought to allay the demon of the mist's doubts. Kisame took a step forward. Itachi isn't the only one to have encountered Madara. I have. It was Madara who convinced me to abandon Kirigakure. Then Madara was behind the bloodline purges. Haku's tone was melancholy as he looked away. The last Yuki had never experienced hate in his life. He had experienced pain and betrayal, but never hate. The sudden swell of hate within Haku was a completely alien feeling. The only clue to his anger was a slight clench in his jaw. This man is responsible for creating all of us. I can see it etched into our eyes. I do not know what Uchiha Madara did to you all, but I know it created a well of pain. We have to stop Madara. He has to die. It is painful, but Haku is right. I seek to break the chains of hatred, but as long as Madara lives, there can never be peace. Madara may be the only creature in all of existence beyond saving. Namikaze admitted with a heavy heart. So when do we strike at Madara? Zabuza was still skeptical about the truth of Namikaze, Kisame, and the Uchiha's claims. However, if it was true, Madara would have to be destroyed before a new Kirigakure could be created. The time is coming, but there are elements in Akatsuki that must be dealt with before we can strike at Madara. I am going to seek out more allies. Itachi and Kisame will be your contacts with Pain's faction. Namikaze commanded the assembled rogue shinobi. The sooner the better. Zabuza sneered. Namikaze chose to ignore Momochi's tone. He nodded once to Haku, Itachi and Kisame before disappearing into the forest. Kisame and Zabuza glared at each other for a while. The former swordsman of the mist placed the blame for the collapse of that proud fraternity at the other's feet. Until we are ready to strike at Madara, you two will have to maintain hidden. My clan possessed several hidden strongholds from before the founding of the shinobi villages. You will remain there. Itachi spoke decisively and prevented the two former mist. Haku looked to Zabuza, who only shrugged his shoulders. At least, they wouldn't have to worry about Hunter Neens. The Hyuga tutors were always harsh with Hinata. As the heiress, the old men held her to a much higher standard. They bemoaned her lack of aggression and precision. The only area they could not fault Hinata in was her agility. Hinata was a talented defensive fighter. Unfortunately, the Juken was not a defensive style. It was an unrelenting style. Hinata was far too hesitant to ever truly master the style. Thus, her current performance was an out-of-context problem. Hinata was not only attacking, but attacking aggressively. She was using her natural agility to probe Hitaka's defenses. Hinata did not hesitate to land several decisive blows. Haijame rose to his feet. The match has concluded. Hinata-sama is the victor. The aging tutor said evenly. He dismissed both combatants. After waiting several moments, he exited the dojo. Haijame came to a halt outside of Hayashi's office. Enter. The cold voice of the Hyuga clan had ordered. Haijame obeyed and bowed to his clan's leader. Hayashi-sama, there has been a development with your eldest. Haijame reported while avoiding calling Hinata Hayashi's heir. The clan head had not stripped Hinata of her birthright, but Hinata's position was perilous. I do not wish to hear of her latest failure. Hayashi continued with his paperwork. His voice clearly demonstrated his lack of interest in Hinata. My lord, Hinata defeated Hitaka today. Haijame kept his voice even. It was difficult to keep the surprise out of his voice. Hinata has not emerged victorious in a spar in several months. This victory is likely a fluke. However, I will be informed of the results of her next spars. Hayashi finally made eye contact with Hinata's Juken instructor. Haijame bowed. As you wish, Hayashi-sama. Hayashi dismissed the tutor. I wonder if she will cease to be an embarrassment. Hayashi thought idly. This situation demanded careful observation. Naruto unlocked his door and strolled triumphantly into his apartment. Today was going very well. He hadn't felt this confident in weeks. Naruto knew he would feel even better after a conversation with Yamato. The boy entered his kitchen and started to prepare his dinner. How am I supposed to contact Yamato? It's not like I can simply say his name 3 times and he'll appear. Naruto mumbled to himself. It's actually 4 times. Naruto jumped at Yamato's voice. He spat out a curse and turned to face the ANBU. What the heck was that? The boy sputtered. You said earlier you needed to speak with me. I overheard you while I was on my patrol. Yamato took a seat. Naruto shrugged. I really shouldn't be surprised. He's ANBU. Okay. I need to ask you about some things. Let me guess, Hinata? The ANBU asked with a smile. The boy blushed furiously. Yeah, I came back because Naruto remembered the nightmare from the night Namikaze arrived and shuddered. Is your attraction to Hinata your own, or is it Namikaze? Yamato questioned Naruto. He wanted Naruto to have his own life. The merging process concerned the once and future ANBU captain. Both, Naruto said before tearing into his instant ramen. She's the kindest person I've ever met. I can tell that Hinata-chan respects me as a person. She's also got this determination I've never seen in anyone before. So yeah, I like her. Then again, I can feel Namikaze's love for her. His is a bit different. It's sad, and I can't think of the word. You know that feeling when you hold something up and can't imagine it being flawed? Namikaze has an idealized memory of Hinata. Yamato provided the word Naruto was looking for. I cannot blame Namikaze. That moment was so traumatic. I've got another question, Naruto trailed off as he stirred his ramen. Yamato smiled in an attempt to reassure Naruto. Ask away, Naruto. In the future, before things went south, did I have more friends than just Hinata-chan? The boy asked hopefully. You had many friends, Naruto. In time, you will become a famous and respected ninja, Tenzo assured Naruto. Awesome. Naruto pumped his fist. Do you want some ramen? The ANBU chuckled. Uzumaki Naruto, never change. Thank you. Naruto got up and pulled a few cups of instant ramen from his cabinet. I know ANBU missions are secret and all, but can you tell me about some of your missions? Yamato grinned. I can't tell you much, but I think I can share a few stories. There was this one A-rank mission to the Land of Tea. In his past life, Namikaze had not appreciated Erosenen's lessons on espionage and field craft. In his current life, he had trouble believing how short-sighted and impatient he had been. Jiraiya had handed Namikaze the tools to find Sasuke on a silver platter. I was just as misguided as Sasuke, it seems, the time traveler thought. He had focused so much on jutsus and getting stronger to fight Sasuke. Jiraiya had given him all the tools to complete Namikaze's past ambitions. I won't ignore Erosenen's lessons this time, Namikaze silently assured himself. He was calling upon every memory and shred of knowledge he possessed to track his current quarry. The time traveler was greeted by the bar's hostess. Namikaze sighed as he pushed past the underdressed and overexcited window dressing. The girl was just doing her job and was pretty enough. Unfortunately, Namikaze had already experienced one moment of perfect beauty. The one moment he shared with Hinata after Danzo's betrayal had rendered all other women woefully inadequate. Namikaze could never look at another woman. It would be a betrayal of Hinata-chan. Namikaze shook that painfully wonderful memory away. His time with Hinata had passed. Naruto had the opportunity now. Namikaze was living on borrowed time. The overriding goal was to lay the groundwork for true peace. In order to achieve that goal, Namikaze had to recruit Bachan. He would need her strength to defeat Madara and the members of Akatsuki who would not accept Nagato and Namikaze's vision of peace. Namikaze paused. He was struck by how much he viewed himself as Namikaze instead of Naruto. There was only one Naruto, and he was in Konoha. The Naruto who had experienced so much had cast himself aside. Was he abandoning his responsibilities? Namikaze shrugged as he acknowledged that he possibly was shirking his duties. He hastily reminded himself that he was laying the foundations of a new world for Naruto and Hinata. The memories and internal conflict were chased away by Namikaze's renewed sense of determination. His sense of purpose drove him onward. He took his place at the CD bar. Another memory of his training with Erosenen floated to the forefront. Kid, booze loosens tongues as easily as torture, and you don't have to get your hands dirty, Jiraiya said as he downed another drink. Namikaze remembered how he had scoffed at his teacher. Now sitting at the bar, the refugee from the future took Jiraiya's lessons to heart. He flagged down the bartender and ordered a strong drink. Namikaze knew that with his Cube-enhanced metabolism that he wouldn't get too buzzed off the drink. The other patrons at the bar would only see a young man throwing back vodka. Namikaze's seemingly careless behavior would put them at ease and further loosen their tongues. After 2 more drinks, Namikaze waved the bartender over. It was a simple way to get information. It worked when I was tracking down Haku and Zabuza, Naruto reminded himself. What do you need, brat? The bartender scoffed as Naruto downed another drink. I need to find the legendary sucker. That woman owes my boss a lot of money, Namikaze grumbled. Ah, so you're drinking away your frustrations. Well, you're in luck that I'm such a nice guy, the young man snickered. My luck'll be as bad as hers if I can't get the money she owes my boss, Namikaze said while rubbing at his eyes. He had used a simple transformation to disguise his precious Byakugan. It was difficult to maintain such a transformation for very long. Luckily, Namikaze had thrown back enough hard liquor that his bleary-eyed appearance would be chalked up to drunkenness. There's a gambling tournament in Anamizu. The odds are good she'll be there, the bartender revealed with a toothy smile. Thanks, the ninja smiled in honest relief. How about one more for the road? The bartender refilled Namikaze's cup with some local rotgut. The time traveler downed the foul liquid in a single shot. It was all part of continuing his deception. Observers would think Namikaze was a drunk. The truth was, Namikaze was doing everything possible not to taste the alcohol. He quickly put down a few Rio notes and left. The unofficial Akatsuki member was 3 steps out of the door before he started coughing. How the hell did Erosen drink that crap? Naruto rolled out of the way of one of Hinata's gentle fist strikes. He had barely dodged a few of her more aggressive strikes. Naruto couldn't believe how awesome Hinata's taijutsu style was. Even a glancing hit causes the area to go numb. Imagine if she wasn't holding back, the boy thought with a proud smile. Hinata had grown more confident in the short time they had trained together. Hinata easily tracked Naruto with her Byakugan. The heiress used an axe kick to keep Naruto off balance. She had learned that allowing Naruto to use any ninjutsu was a recipe for a quick defeat. Hinata's focus in the most recent spars had been disrupting Naruto's hand seals. In the first few spars, Hinata had taken Naruto by complete surprise. Naruto had been enthusiastic in his praise when he had realized Hinata's strategy. Here goes! Naruto shouted fiercely as he attempted to press the attack. He had just finished his combat role and charged. The sudden shift did not surprise Hinata. She used her superior agility to dodge Naruto's elbow strike with almost trivial ease. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Hinata pouted a little as 6 of Naruto's Kage Bunshin surrounded her. How did I miss his hand seal? You were kicking my ass, Hinata-chan. You did awesome. The original Naruto was beaming as he praised Hinata. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I wish I knew the Kaiten, Hinata said, while returning Naruto's smile. Yeah, I'd have been hosed in a second if you knew that technique, Naruto happily admitted. He dispelled all his clones, including the 2 lookout clones. He ran through the memories of the clones. I have some good news, Hinata-chan. If this had been a real fight, I probably would have died at least 3 times. Naruto reported his clone's observation in a chipper tone. Hinata took on a look of utter terror, and she took a step back. Naruto-kun, Hinata started to apologize. How can he say that is good news? The thought of harming Naruto felt like a hand of pure ice gripping her heart. There's no need to apologize for winning, Hinata-chan. I know you'd never intentionally hurt me. This was just a spar. Besides, I could never really fight you. Spar with you? I love sparring with you. Actually fight you? Never, I couldn't do it, Naruto said firmly. The thought of fighting Hinata was abhorrent. I could never fight you, Naruto-kun, Hinata said softly. She was touched by how much Naruto cared. His kindness and affection melted the icy grip of her melancholy thoughts. I feel so alive with you, Naruto thought longingly. He wanted to tell Hinata everything, but Naruto wasn't sure if moving so fast would push her away. Naruto would never risk losing Hinata. Well, I think that's the last thing we have to worry about, Naruto reassured Hinata. The only thing that stood out from my clone's memories was that you got too aggressive at one point. You almost lost your footing. Granted, you're the most agile person I've ever seen, so you recovered awesome. Hinata nodded at Naruto's critique. Her sparring partner grinned cheekily and continued. And really, that's all that stood out other than the fact you made me wear my ass for a hat. You could have beaten me several times, Hinata exclaimed. You aren't giving yourself enough credit. Naruto smiled softly as he sat down. I hope we end up on the same team. I hope so too, Naruto-kun, Hinata said dreamily. I think we would make an excellent team. Hell yeah, we would. Naruto shouted and pumped his fist. Unbeknownst to the two students, they were being observed by Hyuga Hohito. The observer deactivated his Bikugan and returned to the Hyuga compound. Hohito made his way to Hayashi's office. Enter, Hayashi ordered. Hohito slid the door aside and entered the office. Reporting as ordered, Hayashi-sama, the Chunin responded while bowing. The Hyuga clan head motioned for his agent to take a seat. Hohito graciously accepted. Where, with whom, and how has my daughter been training? Hayashi questioned. She has been training with Uzumaki Naruto after her academy classes. Hinata-sama's recent training seems to be focused on disrupting her opponent's hand seals, Hohito responded. Hayashi finished a bit of paperwork and sat silently for several moments. I require your honest assessment of both her training with Uzumaki Naruto and Hinata's performance, Hayashi stated crisply. Hayashi-sama, I was surprised by Hinata-sama's performance. She successfully disrupted Uzumaki Naruto's use of the Kage Bunshin technique. The Hyuga Chunin was recounting all he had seen. Wait one moment, Hohito-san. Hayashi held up a hand to halt Hohito's explanation. How does Uzumaki Naruto know the Kage Bunshin? That jutsu is restricted to Jonin. I am not sure, Hayashi-sama. I will endeavor to find where the young man learned such a technique, Hohito answered. Continue, Hayashi commanded. Hinata-sama clearly had the upper hand during the spar. There were several times during the match that, had Hinata-sama not been restricting the amount of chakra in her strikes, Hinata-sama would have killed or otherwise incapacitated the child. Hohito recounted the match. He fidgeted in his chair. Hayashi noticed the discomfort in his agent and narrowed his eyes. Is there something else that needs to be brought to my attention, Hohito-san? The Uzumaki boy is clearly smitten with Hinata-sama, Hohito spoke quickly. The Chunin felt his mouth go dry. Hohito had no idea how Hayashi would react to that news. An academy crush, Hayashi dismissed Hohito's concerns. We have all had them. I will permit this interaction as long as the relationship remains platonic. Hinata's training with the Uzumaki child has, in fact, been beneficial. I believe that my eldest daughter may indeed be salvaged. Are there scenarios where I may have to intervene, Hayashi-sama? Hohito asked. So long as Uzumaki Naruto remains respectful of my daughter and is not forward, you are to simply observe them, Hayashi stated simply. Hohito nodded. I do not believe respect will be a concern. The boy, due to his situation, is a bit rough around the edges. However, it is clear that he practically worships Hinata-sama. As he should. Hinata may have once been a complete disappointment as a potential leader for our illustrious and indomitable clan, but she is a beautiful and refined young woman. That boy has no idea how fortunate he is that Hinata graces him with a second glance, Hayashi stated in a regal tone. Hohito was dismissed and left the office. As he strolled along the halls of the compound, he realized just how extraordinary the conversation with Hayashi had been. Hayashi had spoken with pride about his eldest daughter. I don't know if we can trust them, Zabuza said conspiratorially. The two Kiri missing nin were being housed in an abandoned Uchiha fortress. Zabuza had excitedly searched for Uchiha Jutsu scrolls, but the dead clan had been very thorough in moving their extensive library of techniques to their massive district in Konoha. The demon of the hidden mist disappointment added to his foul mood. Our objectives match with those of Akatsuki, Haku stated in an attempt to placate his master. So Namikaze and Pain claim. I don't dispute that Uchiha Madara is a threat that must be eliminated if we are to create a new mist, Zabuza grumbled. The swordsman of the mist marveled at Haku's ability to drive away his rages. Sometimes, Zabuza thought of Haku as his own son. Zabuza would never admit that sentiment to anyone but himself. We do not need to permanently ally ourselves with Akatsuki. If our goals diverge after the defeat of Madara, we can simply walk away. I do not recall us joining Akatsuki, Haku explained. Zabuza was shocked. Haku had seemingly bought into Namikaze and Pain's vision. I'm a bit surprised, Haku. You sounded like you believed in Pain and Namikaze's ideals, the demon of the mist pointed out. Haku looked away for a moment. Their vision intrigues me. I feel as though I have some connection to Pain and Namikaze, Haku admitted. Zabuza snorted dismissively and wandered deeper into the Uchiha stronghold. He was pleased that Haku had not become enthralled by the ideals of Akatsuki. The pair had always sworn to reform the hidden mist. The rest of the world wasn't part of the plan, but Madara's faction of Akatsuki was a threat that couldn't be ignored. My ideals can't become twisted again. I won't let Namikaze or Pain play me like Yagura did. Zabuza's thoughts were defiant. However, a small voice in the back of his head was questioning if Zabuza had the strength, as a ninja and a man, to stand apart from the raw power of conviction possessed by the mysterious leaders of Akatsuki. Naruto was glad he was a bit winded. His heavier-than-usual breathing could easily disguise the occasional sigh. Naruto had several weighty issues on his mind. First, there was the ever-present specter of the merger with Namikaze. Naruto had no idea what Namikaze was up to. That worried Naruto. I'll talk to Yamato later, Naruto mentally assured himself. Naruto had sent shadow clones out nearly every night to simply observe the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto had been disgusted by what he had uncovered. The Uchiha massacre had done more than destroy Konoha's largest and most prestigious clan. It had also destroyed the Konoha military police. The vacuum created by the massacre allowed Konoha's criminal element to flourish. Naruto had never given much thought to Konoha lacking a police force. He had always been focused on becoming strong enough to be Hokage. Naruto couldn't remember a time, before Namikaze's arrival of course, where he had paid attention to anything that didn't immediately concern him. His new awareness was both a gift and a curse. It was a gift because it led him to Hinata-chan. How long would it have taken me to notice her if Namikaze hadn't arrived? Naruto thought with a shudder. If it wasn't for Namikaze, Naruto would probably still be chasing Sakura. Naruto still thought Sakura was pretty, but Naruto realized he only pursued Sakura for the attention. Worse, Hinata would have simply faded into the background. What would have happened to her if Naruto hadn't helped her? Naruto froze in place as an image of Hinata coughing up blood invaded his mind. No, Naruto whimpered as he gripped the sides of his head. It was clearly another of Namikaze's memories. Why did Naruto only see the traumatic memories? Why were there never any happy memories? Where was Irika-sensei? Where was the old man? Where was a memory where Hinata-chan was not being harmed? Naruto shook off the curse of his greater awareness. He wasn't sure if being caught unprepared for Namikaze's memories or the borderline lawlessness in Konoha was worse. I need some answers, Naruto thought after a deep breath. The Hokage tower grew taller as Naruto approached it. Naruto hadn't planned on visiting the old man. In fact, he hadn't even thought about visiting the Hokage since the incident with Root. Wait, does Danzo have something to do with not rebuilding the police force? All this crime can't make the Hokage look good, Naruto mulled over his new theory. Danzo encouraging lawlessness as a way to make the third look bad wasn't too much of a stretch to Naruto. Naruto had accepted two of Namikaze's statements completely. First, he believed Danzo was a threat. Naruto had never encountered the man personally, but the boy already hated Danzo completely. Second, Naruto believed that Hinata cared about him. Naruto didn't know how badly Namikaze's revelations would have broken Naruto without the knowledge of Hinata. She completed Naruto. Naruto smiled as he entered the tower. It was amazing how simply thinking of Hinata could lift his spirits. Excuse me, Naruto asked as he reached the third secretary. Can I help you, Naruto? The young Chunin asked. Is the old man busy? I need to talk with him, Naruto answered the young woman sheepishly. The woman chuckled and brushed her bangs back into place. I'll check for you, she said with a smile. Naruto took a seat outside of the old man's enormous office. A moment later, the Chunin returned. Hokage-sama would love to speak with you. Thanks, Aoi, Naruto shouted as he jumped out of the chair. He rushed through the open door and shouted a greeting to the third Hokage. Naruto, I must thank you for rescuing me from the horrors of paperwork. The aging Kage smiled and thanked the boy for his visit. Don't mention it, old man, Naruto said with a laugh. You have been a subject of many a conversation recently, the Hokage mentioned as he lit his pipe. Naruto looked up in shock. I haven't pulled a prank in a long time. I've been training with Hinata-chan every day. Naruto defended himself. Hiruzen's eyes lit up. Hinata-chan, is it? So I have heard. Your instructors are both impressed by the progress the two of you have made. Irika, however, has expressed concern. Naruto, your abilities have greatly improved, yet you remain at the bottom of your class's rankings, the Hokage verbally prodded Naruto. He watched the young man squirm a bit in his seat before pressing on. Arika has also noticed that Hinata has surpassed Yamanaka Ino for second place in the class, and will likely become the top-ranked kunoichi after the next round of exams. Naruto didn't respond to the Hokage's statement. I should have known the old man would have figured it out. I do not know how you and Hinata discovered how the Jinin teams are selected, but I will not interfere. Subtly manipulating a situation to your advantage is a valuable skill for a shinobi. Sarutobi was actually praising Naruto and Hinata. The academy student removed his goggles and rubbed his forehead. Thanks, old man, Naruto spoke quietly. He had experienced a moment of absolute terror when the old man revealed his awareness of Naruto and Hinata's grades. Naruto nearly broke out into a cold sweat at the thought of being separated from Hinata. You are welcome, Naruto. I am pleased with the progress you are making, the Hokage said proudly. Hinata-chan and I have been working very hard, Naruto admitted quietly. Hiruzen took a deep drag on his pipe. Naruto watched the Hokage breathe out in contentment. Tenzo has told me as much. I do believe he has taken a liking to you, Hiruzen revealed casually. Yeah, Yamato is awesome, Naruto exclaimed. I will have to commend him for taking the initiative for coming up with a name for use in public. That initiative is slightly problematic, however, Sarutobi spoke calmly. I don't follow, Naruto chose his words carefully. Do not worry, Naruto. I am not angry at either you or Tenzo. I just wish Tenzo had received permission before teaching you Kage Bunshin, the Hokage said with a sigh. Yamato, I owe you several dozen. Heh, sorry about that, old man. I was so excited about learning such a kick-ass jutsu that I forgot to mention it to you, Naruto spoke with forced over-enthusiasm. The Hokage laughed at Naruto's abundant energy. Hiruzen enjoyed spending time with the Forest Legacy. Naruto made him feel younger. I remember how excited I was when I learned my first real jutsu. Naruto, would you mind sharing a few stories about your new training with an old man? I find I have a sudden craving for some miso ramen, the third Hokage spoke warmly. I'm always up for ramen. Hiruzen laughed heartily as he watched Naruto bound towards the door. The Hokage informed Aoi of his plans and gave the young woman permission to go home early. Naruto grabbed Sarutobi's hand and practically dragged him down the stairs. Hey, old man, Naruto looked up expectantly. Can I wear the hat? I'm afraid you can't wear my hat, Naruto. Ah, Naruto whined. Hiruzen laughed again. I believe you will change the world, Uzumaki Naruto. You can tell me about your training with young Lady Hinata, the Hokage said to distract Naruto from the hat. Hinata-chan is awesome. Her gentle fist is freaking awesome, but the name is horrible. There is nothing gentle about it. I know Hinata-chan wouldn't go all out in our spars, but it takes a while to get feeling back in my body after she wins, Naruto spoke with undeniable pride for his friend. I dare say, Naruto, that you have quite the friendship with Hinata, the Hokage decided to have a bit of sport with the young man. Naruto suddenly blushed. Sarutobi laughed the hardest he had in a long time. She's probably the love of my life, my best friend, Naruto spoke quickly and fought to get his blush under control. He was a bit embarrassed that his affection for Hinata was so obvious. Naruto wasn't embarrassed of his feelings. Naruto could never be embarrassed by his feelings for Hinata. He just knew that his social status would make any public relationship troublesome. And now I'm sounding like Shikamaru, Naruto thought in amusement. Your secrets are safe with me, Naruto, Hiruzen assured his young friend. Thanks, Naruto said behind a sigh of relief. Are you sure I can't wear the hat? It's only a few weeks until the exams, Namikaze said to himself as he leapt through the trees. He was a few hours from reaching the small port city of Anamizu. Namikaze had gathered a bit of information about the gambling tournament being held in the town. It was a quiet tournament, and several of the big creditors were ignoring the games. Bachan would flock to such laid-back games. The relative isolation would be perfect for Namikaze's purposes, as well. It would take a great deal of effort to convince Bachan to help against Madara. I wish that bastard fox hadn't smashed the first Hokage's necklace, Namikaze grumbled in his mind. The unique sensation of a sea breeze was Namikaze's first evidence that he had arrived. He had only been to the sea a few times in his life. Namikaze had always enjoyed simply visiting the ocean. I just hope I don't get attacked by Orochimaru's pawns this time, Namikaze muttered to himself. He approached Anamizu on foot. If he approached the village like a shinobi, Tsunade would probably go to ground somewhere else. Time was Namake's enemy. He couldn't spend weeks chasing Bachan across the land of fire. Namake still had to contact Erosenin and help Nagato Nizan purge Madara's influence from Akatsuki. As Namake approached the city's main gate, one of the guards perked up. "Excuse me." Namake fought the urge to slip into a combat mindset at the guard's outburst. "May I help you?" Namake asked cautiously. The guard shifted uncomfortably in his armor. He fidgeted with his pole arm for a moment. "You are an unaffiliated shinobi, aren't you?" A second guard asked quickly. He shrank into his helmet when Namake turned his attention to the younger guard. Namake could understand his trepidation. The bandages hiding Hinata's Byakugan probably caused a bit of unease. People took comfort from being able to look another in the eyes. "I have no connections to any of the hidden villages," Namake lied easily. "Seems like some gods were listening. The Magister will want to meet with you," the first guard blathered excitedly. Namake arched an eyebrow at the exclamation. "It sounds like you're expecting trouble at your little tournament," Namake observed offhandedly. "You don't know the half of it," the second guard grumbled under his breath. The time traveler shrugged at the young man's foul mood. Namake wasn't surprised. Bachan's creditors were probably tracking her and hoping to corner Tsunade and Anamizu.